Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
Do not try and ban the podcast. That's impossible. Instead, only try to realize the truth.
What truth?
There is no podcast.
Hey, there we go. Nice and clean.
There we go. That was our second take of an intro.
I'm David Sims.
I'm Griffin Newman. Welcome to Blank Check with Griffin and David.
Yep.
This is episode 2 of a new mini-series. Ooh, we do mini-series.
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
We're
classy
serial.
like HBO. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a limited series event that just never ends. One stacked on top.
Event after event.
Another. Yeah. This is a miniseries called The Wachowski Casters.
That's right.
We're a couple podcasters. We're also two friends.
We are the capital T, two friends.
And why don't you hashtag that shit?
Hashtag the two friends.
We like to talk about directors. We like to talk about movies. We do these miniseries where we go into a director's oeuvre, their filmography, and we go through film by film. And what we're really fascinated in is when someone early on has a massive success, the game has changed, and they keep on getting this blank check.
That's the name of the podcast.
To make whatever they want.
And today we're talking about one of those massive successes.
This is the movie that changes the game. This is the one. Everything hinges on this film right here.
Yep.
Not just for these directors, but also for maybe just like American filmmaking at large.
Totally.
This is one of those seismic shift movies.
It's the kind of movie that not just, this studio is like, and these directors are going to try and make over and over, but like all studios are going to try and make. It's one of those movies that everyone's like, oh, we gotta get ourselves one of those.
Yeah, and I think I said this last episode, but it's one of those movies that's like a pre and post movie, where like anything made after The Matrix. The Matrix is the movie we're talking about today.
Oh, The Matrix.
The Matrix. The Matrix.
Yes, Le Matrix.
Anything that was made after The Matrix is either consciously deciding to not do what The Matrix
you're either
did.
copying it or you're trying not to do it.
Right. The year is 1999.
1999. Y2K on the horizon.
We were all terrified.
Ooh, Bill Clinton. The Lewinsky scandal begins to fade.
Yeah.
What else is going on?
Can we just talk about this for a second?
Okay.
Y2K. The thought was, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
The thought was that computers ran on a 2-digit year system.
The Millennium Bug.
Right, but wasn't the idea that it was like, 96, 97, 98? Like it only looked at the last 2 digits.
Yeah.
And that if we went to the year 2000 and it went to 00, then the computer would tell itself it didn't exist because it was 1900 and would shut down.
It was because of the need for bit conservation. Most computers, I don't know. I can't read this whole Wikipedia entry.
But the logic I remember, maybe I was just a kid and someone told me something false and I believed it, was that like the computer would be like, wait, it's the year 1900? I'm a computer. I don't exist. And then it would just turn off.
I think that's a little simplified. I think it's more just that old computers just could not accept the date and it would just cause all these weird problems.
Yeah. Yeah, we all thought the world was going to end. I remember like watching New Year's Eve TV with my parents and just like country by country, it was like Dan Rather being like, okay, Russia, the lights are still on. We're good in Russia.
I think that it was a real concern.
Mm-hmm.
It was widely publicized and addressed.
Mm-hmm.
But then the media just kind of held on to it and was like, Y2K, but I think like we identified the problem, we got to it, we fixed it.
Yeah.
And nothing happened. And it was like, generally, it wasn't one of those things where it's like, you guys were all fussing about nothing. No, I think there was something, but they fixed it.
They fixed it pretty quickly. But this is, look, David, Y2K was just starting to percolate in the public consciousness when The Matrix came out. Early March, I think it was close to my sister's birthday.
March 31st. March 31st.
Oh, so late March, the absolute opposite of what I said?
Correct.
Yeah.
Rather than Caesar still being alive, he's dead. If we're going by like March.
Sure. Post-Ides. I remember the Friday this movie came out, going to the Union Square
you
14
were
movie theater.
10 years old?
Would have been 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the Union Square Theater with my brother Jamesy and our babysitter Michelle. And I was like, man, the theater's so crowded. I can't believe this many people want to see 10 Things I Hate About You.
Is that what you were going to see?
100%. Came out the same day.
It did. Yes.
We were amped for 10 Things.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, 10 Things I Hate About You is going to be the #1 movie at the box office this weekend. People are riled up for this movie.
Here's my question. Why were you so amped for 10 Things I Hate About You? Did it have a star in it that you were interested in, or did you like the whole teen Shakespeare craze?
Had a couple stars at Tomorrow. I mean, Julia Stiles and Ledger were popping from that trailer.
Yeah, but they hadn't been in anything.
Yeah, but from the trailer, I'm saying I saw
I was on board for Alex Mack and Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, those
from,
are probably my
Third
two
Rock from
favorite
the Sun.
stars. David Krumholtz also as well.
I'm not sure that I knew David Krumholtz was in it, but sure. Yeah,
I knew from David Krumholtz at that point.
David Krumholtz is a major Griffin Newman fan, isn't he? Or are we not allowed to talk about that on the podcast?
We can talk about that. He saw one show I did and was very complimentary to me afterwards, and then tweeted.
He's like taking a UCB class or something, right?
He was. He was taking a UCB sketch class. He came to one of my sketch shows, and then afterwards was like, "Hey man, what's your name again?" Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Again, this is the first time."
Well, he probably heard you introduced on the stage.
I don't think it was a sketch show.
I don't know.
I was
Jesus
so
Christ.
deep in character, David.
Okay.
I played the physics professor who thinks he was in an English class by accident.
It sounds like a great sketch.
It was actually...
And it blew Krumholtz away.
Blew him away.
And so he comes up, he asks for you, he asks your name.
And he was like, really good work. And I was like, thank you very much. And he walks away, and I was like, David Krumholtz. Mm-hmm. And that night he tweeted at me publicly, not like a DM. He didn't slide into my DMs like Garfield. He fucking publicly tweeted at me, hey, met earlier tonight, went up, introduced myself after the show, really, really great work, transcendently funny. And I was like, great. Krumholtz just tweeted at me.
Mm-hmm. So you follow him.
I follow him. I'm like, he's going to follow me back, and then I'll slide into his DMs like Garfield, and we'll organize to get him on the podcast.
Yeah, nothing.
He never followed back.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
You
had a nice interaction with David Krumholtz.
I wanted to get him on the show.
I dare you to name the director of 10 Things I Hate About You.
Ready? I'm trying to remember how to pronounce his name.
Well, just go.
Gil Younger?
That's correct.
Thank you.
How on earth did you do that?
I don't know.
I dare you to name the other 2 movies he directed.
I couldn't do that.
Black Knight,
whoa,
starring Martin Lawrence.
Marty Lawrence?
And something called If Only, which I've literally never heard of, starring Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Huh.
And that's it.
Wow.
He moved into Lifetime movies after that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you're a 10-year-old. You're going to see 10 Things, which is the first movie I ever went on a date to see.
With whom?
I'm not going to talk about it, but
okay.
But I was 13. I was more of a teenager. As
you were
might say.
wizened at that point. Yeah. One could call you a teenager.
We were, we're 3 years apart.
Yes.
But like at that age, 10, 13, that's a wide gulf.
Yeah.
Between us if we had known each other.
As Donald Trump would say, big.
Huge. So you go to see 10 Things with your babysitter and Jamesy?
Yeah, and I couldn't even process that people would want to see The Matrix. I was like,
you
that's
get
just
there
some
and
movie
you're
with
like,
guns?
The Matrix?
Yeah, because it was like really crowded, and I was like, everyone has to be here for 10 Things. The Matrix seemed like some fucking like March programmer, you know?
Uh-huh.
And then I remember like the one cool kid at school like telling me that he had seen it, and he was like, it's really good, and I was like, what's it about? And he was like, I couldn't even tell you.
It's fair point.
Yeah. And then he described to me how he'd seen on the news, they did a segment where people were walking out of the Matrix. Like New York local news was doing a segment where people walking out of the Matrix, and they just asked them, can you describe to me the plot of the Matrix? And no one could do it.
Oh, weird. That's sort of a weird joke.
Yeah, and my mom was like very against
guns and violence and shit.
Yeah, so she didn't like me seeing stuff like that, and so I just like the whole time I internalized it to a point where I was like, I don't like movies like that. It went from being like you're not allowed to see them to me going to school and be like, I don't see movies like that. I don't respect movies like that.
Sure, just it's cheap guns and
right.
No, thank you.
But by the time The Matrix had come out on DVD, it was already such a cultural phenomenon where it was clear that it was like something more than that.
Yeah,
that my mom like happily rented it for me from Couch Potato Video.
It was rated R.
It was rated R.
So you couldn't rent it yourself.
Yeah.
You couldn't rent it your damn self.
Right. I couldn't rent it my damn self.
You were also probably like 11 years old, so you probably just did not routinely rent videos by yourself anyway.
I think I was maybe our video store was like directly across the street.
Sure. Okay.
So I was like maybe starting to do it. But I was still maybe 10 at that point.
Our video store would come bring you the video and then come collect it. Isn't that insane?
Cool.
I mean, when I was like a kid.
Yeah, there was a site called Cosmo.com that did that. It was like online.
This is not a
delivery
website.
stuff. Yeah.
There was no websites when this
Yeah.
happened. This is the early 90s. They would
That's
come,
crazy.
bring it to you,
Yeah.
and then you would call them and say, like, I'm done with the video now. And they'd be like, we'll come get it.
Do you have to tip the guy?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. And you better rewind.
Yeah.
You better be kind to rewind.
Oh, you had to be kind. No, this was, I will say this was within that year. I was still 10 because I had seen The Matrix by the time the Oscars happened.
Okay.
So it comes out in March. I probably saw it that October, November.
Sure. The Oscars were the subsequent March.
Right.
The American Beauty Oscars.
By the time the Oscars happened,
you were on board.
I was both very excited
Won
that it won
4
those
Oscars,
awards.
yeah.
I think it won the most of any film that year. I think
No,
American Beauty
won more.
tied.
Yeah.
But I think American Beauty only won 4.
No, it won more. Because it won picture, director, actor, screenplay, cinematography.
Oh, right. So it won 5.
It might have even won more than that. I just know it won those 5.
Yeah.
American Beauty. There's a crappy movie.
But it had the second most Oscars that year. And
Sure,
I remember,
no, it was a big, and it was like, it was, people kept like accepting awards, and it was all these like weird little pale guys, and they'd be like, there is no spoon, and you'd be like, The Matrix.
it was very similar to the Mad Max run at the Oscars this year, where like Mad Max was winning like every award in a row, and all these like characters were coming up.
Well, except, right. Yeah. When the Mad Max wins were great. Yeah, because it'd be some like batty Australian person, and they'd be like, George, my mate.
But you sort of went like, wait, is Mad Max going to win Best Picture because it's getting all this below the line stuff?
The Matrix was nominated for Best Picture,
I know.
unfortunately.
I'm saying
Right.
that's the big shift. Is like I think to a degree
These days, The Matrix would have been nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, I think like Mad Max being nominated was almost people realizing like, oh, we should have nominated The Matrix at the time.
And The Dark Knight.
Yeah, like we should recognize when these movies excel.
Totally.
You know,
Totally.
their genre limitations.
But The Matrix was weirder. Mad Max is pretty weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever. We're not comparing The Matrix and Mad Max.
But it comes out opening weekend and does like a huge number.
It did. Well, it came out on the 31st, and the weekend was the 2nd. So
Right.
it came out on a Wednesday.
Oh, interesting.
And it may have been like, I don't even know what holiday it was. I'm not sure why it came
Yeah.
out on a Wednesday, but it did. So over the 5 days, it made $37 million, $37.3 million.
Which today
at
would
the box
be
office.
like over 50, close to 60, something I think like that.
I can
Yeah.
do it right now. Yeah. So just before we get to the movie, $63.9 million. Very good job.
Thank you.
God.
Thank you. This is the only kind of math I understand.
We'll get back
Yeah.
to the box office because I love playing that game, but
Yeah.
we'll do that at the back end of the podcast. But no, you done? Or no, you're not
No,
done?
I was just gonna say. So it like comes out. It does a weirdly big opening weekend. I think people viewed it as like a fluke, and then it was number 1 for like 5 weeks in a row.
Oh,
it just
yeah,
stayed.
it fell 20% in its next weekend.
Yeah.
And then it fell 20% the weekend after that. Life beat it in its third weekend.
but then did
another
it come
Martin
back
Lawrence
the
film.
weekend after that?
It did.
Yeah. See, I knew that happened. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like an Avatar-like phenomenon where it just, kept dropping very little, and word of mouth was like huge,
And much like The Sixth Sense, which we discussed
The Sixth
extensively
Sense,
on this
right.
podcast, it was this thing where like
which would come out later that year.
yeah. Well, we talked about
I
99
know
is
we
this
talked
weird
about it.
fucking year, David. But it was one of those movies where you like had to see it. There was like a conversation
it.
happening,
I mean, that was because what comes out like 6 or 7 weeks into the Matrix's run. And we
Star
talked about
Wars,
this, Star Wars,
Episode
8
1,
weeks into the
Phantom
Matrix's
Menace.
one,
Yeah.
So it was just a year of must see movies, but the Matrix was the surprise.
Yeah.
And it was this weird R-rated action sci-fi movie
With Keanu Reeves, who had dipped a little at that point.
with Keanu Reeves, who had more than dipped.
Yeah.
And it cost $63 million to make. So like a good sized budget, but not like a Star Wars level budget by any means.
Well, I think it was a weird thing where like when it came out, they were like, Warner Brothers spent $60 million on that.
Like, what is this?
And
And
then
then Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne, who are
Right.
kind of, mid-range stars, like not.
And then when you saw it, you're like, I can't believe they made this for only $60 million.
Well,
like,
it's
then it
crazy.
flipped.
It's
Yeah.
You know what? Keanu was doing okay. The Devil's Advocate had been somewhat of a hit. Now,
2 years earlier, he hadn't made a
and
film
before
for 2 years.
that, it had been Speed.
Bad
Like,
run.
he'd made a lot of, he had not had any hits in between those
In
two.
between Speed and Devil's Advocate.
You've got Johnny Mnemonic, my favorite movie.
Yeah, but not a hit.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You've got A Walk in the Clouds, which made $50 million.
That's so weird.
And Chain Reaction, which was a famous
Yeah,
bomb,
yeah,
and
right.
Feeling Minnesota.
Yeah.
Keanu was definitely on the and this movie was offered to Will Smith, and he almost took it. I think it was offered to a lot of people. But
Johnny Depp, I think
yeah.
the Wachowskis wanted very
But I
badly.
think Will
Yeah.
Smith was like actually
Close.
close-ish.
Yeah.
And then decided not to make Wild Wild West instead.
I mean, this is one of those movies where, like, for the 3 lead roles, they offered it to, like, all the
everybody.
big people.
Yeah.
And everyone turned it down.
Ewan McGregor was considered for Morpheus, I think, as was Val Kilmer. There's, like, a lot of different Morpheuses.
I heard Val Kilmer for Neo as well.
Well, maybe.
I mean, I think they just offered it to anybody who had, like, headlined a movie, and then it was one of these weird instances where, like, everyone turned it down, and then the 3 people they got were the only 3 people who possibly could have played those roles.
Totally. It's so hard to imagine anyone else.
It's crazy.
You can imagine Will Smith as Neo, but it's a totally different movie.
Yeah, and it's
just a
Will
totally
Smith
different movie.
Yeah, right, yeah. Like, they found 3 people who somehow, like, had just enough sort of, like, I mean, Carrie-Anne Moss was pretty much unknown at this point.
No, yeah.
But, like, Fishburne and Reeves had just enough, like, sort of movie star iconography to have that weight.
You could put their names above the title. Yeah.
But, like, they weren't big enough that they overpowered the thing.
Right.
And they just...
these became this is the iconic role for both actors. And both actors have done plenty of other iconic roles, but certainly...
But this is the definitive... When they die, they'll go Morpheus from the Matrix trilogy, Neo from the Matrix trilogy. Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Carrie-Anne Moss is forever going to be Trinity.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
That's true. Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise was considered, but Tom Cruise was considered for literally every part in every movie in the 90s.
Right. They went to, like, every guy who was, like, an A-list leading man.
Gary Oldman and Samuel L. Jackson were considered for Morpheus.
Yeah. Right. It makes sense. Yeah.
It goes on and on. I mean, like, if you go through, like, this sort of trivia on this shit, it's like any actor, basically, from the 90s. But they made Bound, as we talked about last week. The Wachowskis.
Yes.
They're in Hollywood. They've, like, written a couple scripts. They've got this script, The Matrix, right?
Yeah.
As we talked about last week.
Keep talking while I eat on mic.
Gross. As we talked about last week, Warner Brothers was like, crazy script, guys. What is this?
What's going on?
What are you doing here?
Huh?
They make Bound, and I guess Bound is impressive enough. It gets critical acclaim, and it looks cool. It doesn't make any money. That Joel Silver, who is a producer, he has Silver Pictures at Warner Brothers.
I'm sorry, he's a what?
He's a producer. Oh, here we go.
Like producer Ben?
Who?
The Ben Deucer?
Wow.
Producer Ben? The Poet Laureate, the Haas, Mr. Positive, Birthday Benny, the Tiebreaker, the Peeper? Not the Fuckmaster? No,
Nope.
He is the Fuckmaster.
I'm the Fuckmaster.
He's not Professor Crispy.
Nope.
No.
Perhaps one day.
They call him Ben Night Shyamalan.
They do.
They call him Kylo Ben.
Ben Kenobi. I can't.
Ben Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Ben.
I call him Ben Hosley, my
Old
good friend.
Ben Kenobi. Yes. And
Well,
I
hey,
say,
guys.
hello, Fennel.
Hello, Fennel.
Hello, Fennel.
All right. You like this movie, Ben. How old were you when this came out, Ben?
In 1999, I was 47 years old. No, I guess I was a freshman in high school.
Sure. Okay, so you're like a year older than me, Ben.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So what do you remember seeing this in theaters?
I do. It was a big movie for me. I got super into smoking weed around this time in my life.
We were talking about this off mic.
Yeah, we're recording. You'll hear this later.
It's 420, guys.
We're
Happy
recording
420.
420.
So,
I wrote an
this
article
was,
about time-traveling bong for The Atlantic.
Yeah, and Ben smoking that dank weed left and right.
Hell yeah. No, so this was like definitely a movie me and my friends were like, yo, The Matrix, though, if you think about it. But that's my
your thing.
That's my memory of The Matrix.
Because I was going to say, I mean, I snuck into this movie. We bought tickets
with a lady friend.
No, the lady friend was 10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh, right. Yes.
Me and like a bunch of my friends from school, like a bunch of little 13-year-olds. We went to the Odeon Leicester Square, I believe. This is in England. We bought tickets to She's All That, which I guess was the counter programming in England. And release dates are different there, especially back then. And we snuck into The Matrix because it was rated 15. We had to be 15. That was just formative. It was formative. It was like the beginning of me deciding to see movies by myself and, having my own interests rather than just like being taken to the movies.
Well, I mean, the thing I remember sort of parallel to that is it was one of the first movies where I watched it and then had to explain to my mom how good it was.
Sure.
Like, I had to convince my mom to watch it. And it was like, you're not recommending a movie to me.
My mother's never seen this movie.
Yeah, no, I think my mom saw it and liked it. If we're like tiptoeing around talking about this movie right now,
it's hard to talk about it.
We were like talking
you
about
guys
before we
have all
got in
seen
here.
it.
It's like this is like
It's the Matrix.
Because, okay, look, we had to talk about Star Wars, like the original Star Wars.
True.
But at that time, we were doing it under the auspices of, like, a bit.
Well, and also we did 10 episodes per movie, so we
Right.
could really dig in.
Yeah. But this is like, how do you fucking talk about the Matrix where it's like, I mean, this is the other thing we were saying. This is a really simple, stupid thought. But it's like, rewatching it last night.
Yeah.
Like any other time we have a movie, watch it with a close eye. I kind of watch it
Yeah,
with
you're like, ooh, I never noticed that before.
Right, and with a mind towards like, what are we going to talk about in the podcast?
Right. This is the Matrix.
It's so ingrained in our DNA
Yeah,
at
I know
this
every
point.
frame of it.
Right, that you like can't watch it fresh.
We were talking about it's like one of the first DVDs I ever owned, so I'd
Yeah.
watch it over and over just because I liked it, but also because I didn't own a lot of DVDs, so it was like easy to watch it over and over again. So I know like every action beat to this movie.
Yeah, like all of it. I mean, there were scenes I used to watch over and over and over again. I mean, I guess we should just go through the plot, right?
Well, let me just finish on its. I was gonna, Joel
Oh, yes,
Silver,
yes.
producer Joel.
Yeah, sorry.
As they, Purdue
Yeah.
or Joel. they
Purdue or
call
Joel.
him.
Yeah.
He had his
That
shingle.
fat fuck and the ice cream colors.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. He had his shingle Silver Pictures at Warner Brothers, and he liked the movie. Yeah, he liked the script.
Yeah.
So he encouraged it, and I think this other guy, and so the Wachowskis got together with this guy Jeff Darrow, who I think was the guy who drew like Transmetropolitan, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't
that
remember.
makes sense. Yeah, the Warren Ellis book. Yeah.
I don't think it. I don't think it was that. It was a graphic novelist.
Okay.
Whatever. And they storyboarded like the whole movie, like 600 pages. They brought that to Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers was like, "All right, like $60 million. If you can do that, like then you can do that." And they had to shoot it in Australia.
Here's another way that this movie fucking like changed everything.
Yeah.
This was like one of the first big movies to shoot in Australia.
Totally.
And then that became the thing for the next 10
that's,
years.
Village Roadshow, which is the production company, that produces.
Right.
That's an Australian production company.
Yeah.
And they became like a powerhouse.
Yeah, and they started pushing everything to Australia. Australia suddenly had like all this land, really good crews, and like
Good
insane
crews,
tax rebates.
You could, a lot of different landscapes you could use.
Yeah.
And the city.
Yeah.
Is Sydney, I think, in the sort of the city of the Matrix is actually Sydney.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I mean, obviously it's supposed to be kind of Chicago-y,
Yeah.
but it's using the Sydney
it's a
background.
versatile country. There's a lot of different landscapes there.
And big studio, big warehouses and shit.
A wealth of good actors.
Totally.
And like half of this cast is Australian.
Is that right? Because the thing about The Matrix that's fascinating is you've got Keanu and Lawrence, and those are your two stars. You have Carrie-Anne Moss, who is like a TV actor. She's Canadian, I think,
Right.
who they just like the look. And you got Joey
Yeah.
Pantoliano coming back from Bound.
Oh,
He's the
God.
returning player
Yeah.
from Bound.
Yeah.
And you've got Hugo Weaving, who is an Australian. He'd been in The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. He was like. And then you've just got a bunch of, like, who the fuck are these guys? Like, they are only in the Matrix.
They're a bunch of, like, Australian snooks.
It's
That's
like
what they are.
crazy.
Yeah.
You have Gloria Foster, she's a real actress who plays the Oracle, who's great.
Yeah.
But, like, the rest of the ship, those guys?
Dozer, Tank,
like, who are those
Switch.
guys?
Yeah.
APOC.
APOC.
I love them. Like,
too.
they're great.
Me
I
too.
love that they all have their own little kind of Matrix look. They all got their own sunglasses.
Yeah.
But, I mean... they're just a bunch of dweebs. Like, it's great.
Well, Dozer's the guy who ends up being like the main plug-in guy, right?
No, that's Tank.
That's Tank?
Tank is played by Marcus Chong.
Right, who is Tommy Chong's son.
Yeah, and is a handsome boy.
And was fired from the sequels because he was
asked
apparently...
for like $3 million or something, I think.
And I was heard he was very difficult to work with. It sounds like he was one of those actors. He's really charming in this movie. I like him a lot in this.
Yeah, he's good. He's not like... I think that Harold Perrineau is objectively better.
He's a better actor in the grand scheme of things.
But no. I mean, he's the one in the Matrix, so he's good. He's good.
Yeah.
No, Dozer is his big brother,
Right,
played by
okay.
a guy called Anthony Ray Parker.
Yeah, who didn't do other stuff. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, a lot of the cast gets killed off in this movie, so you don't need them to do a lot. But it's just funny. Like sometimes you'll see a movie like the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, oh, hey, look in the background. Like,
That's
there's
Rose Byrne. Right,
like, oh,
yeah.
someone who got famous.
Yeah.
This one's like, hey, nobody. Hey,
Well,
look at nobody.
Well, look, the guy...
Except for Hugo Weaving.
And who else went on to something big?
You're not going to... You mean Mouse. You mean...
Went on to play Elon Sleaze-Bagano in Attack of the Clones, David.
Yeah,
but it is weird.
Matt Doran.
Matt Doran, yeah, but he's Australian too. All the other people on the crew are
and
Australian.
Attack of the Clones shot in Australia.
Yeah, and I think the other agents are Australian, maybe.
They suck. Oh my god, I love how bad they are because Hugo Weaving is like
so
masterful
good.
in this movie, and then the other two agents they can barely speak their lines.
So basic.
It's great. They're like only human. It's like literally like they are machines who can't talk.
But doesn't that strike you as probably Australian actors who hadn't mastered the accent
No,
were
totally.
having a really hard
They're
time?
cast on look. They're just
Yeah.
cast because they look like bland white guys.
There's also this
They're
thing.
both Australian, yeah.
Galaxy Quest, a movie I love.
Robert Taylor, who played Agent Jones, is now the lead of Longmire.
What?
Who knew?
Is he Australian?
Yeah.
Weird.
I know.
Longmire?
Yeah, that like Western show.
Yeah, weird.
Anyway,
what I was gonna say was
so I take it back. One of the ensemble got famous.
big success. Galaxy Quest, a movie I love, which I believe I've referenced several
Yeah,
times.
also
before.
99 film.
Yes. Yeah, and my single favorite movie of all time, arguably, comes from 1999.
Your single. Toy Story 2.
Yep.
Yeah, the best movie of 1999 is Eyes Wide Shut.
Toy Story 2.
Anyway,
Galaxy Quest. They cast what's his name? Enrico
Colantoni,
yes.
or however you say his name, the Canadian actor from Veronica Mars and Just Shoot Me and shit. He's great.
They
so
cast
good
him,
in Galaxy Quest.
So good. They cast him to play the lead Thermian, right? They, all the vocal, the sort of movements,
the way he holds himself,
all of that.
Just one of the greatest pieces of like quote unquote like alien acting ever.
It's amazing,
so funny,
but
on a par with Vincent D'Onofrio in Men in Black.
But they cast that part first.
Mm-hmm.
He came in with all of that developed. That wasn't like in the script,
right?
And then they went when they were casting the other roles.
They were like copy him,
and that's like the other people are like Rainn Wilson and Missy Pyle and a bunch of great character
Missy Pyle
actors.
and that other guy who was in Deadpool this year.
Jed Rees.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, and there's another guy, Patrick something, who's a really good stage actor.
Yeah, but
anyway,
we're not talking.
My point is, they went to like all of them and they went, hey, we cast this guy. He's the leader.
Right.
This is the template.
Right.
And it feels like with The Matrix, they did the same thing.
Yeah,
and they were like,
we cast Hugo Weaving. Watch him.
Watch him.
Listen to his voice.
And these people were like, that's very simple. He's doing straight arrow. That's easy. And then it's a masterclass in showing like how hard it is to be that focused, that restrained, that sparse.
Yeah, because, okay, so let's get into this movie.
Yeah, let's get into this one.
So this movie is like a classic, like, it's like all these things coming together, right?
Yeah.
It's like all these different influences. Like you've got this sort of comic booky thing.
Mm-hmm.
You've got this steampunk look.
Mm-hmm.
And you have these like cyberpunk themes, like about hackers and like, reality versus virtual reality.
Well, this sort of like deep sci-fi thinking, like
you
hardcore sci-fi thinking.
Yeah. And then they're also mixing in like philosophical ideas of the 20th century.
Right,
and,
but you're getting like this Arthur C. Clarke, like Philip K. Dick, Ray Bradbury sort of area, but for the first time being able to realize this stuff on a massive visual scale.
And then they're also mixing in like their love of like anime, which I know shit about.
Yeah.
But, and Japanese like cool like Japanese serialized stuff and
martial
like,
arts
kung
films.
fu movies.
Yeah, right.
Like which and they hired this legendary Chinese choreographer, Yuen Woo-ping, I don't know, who's like does all the fight sequences.
Did Crouching
and
Tiger,
it's like, that's why people coming out of the movie, like the audiences couldn't tell you what it was because it's like, well, it's martial arts, but it's also like guns.
Yeah.
And it's like they're hackers, but it's like a computer movie, but then it's like it's so many things at once.
There's this weird
It shouldn't work at all.
It shouldn't work at all. There's this weird phenomenon that happens very rarely where something like it comes along that just sort of crystallizes all these things that were in the air that someone hadn't pulled down to the ground yet.
They just managed to get like for Johnny Mnemonic, a movie that had come out 4 years ago, which is like a cyberpunk movie, and it has a lot of these themes of like hacking and like that's a movie that totally bombs. It's trying to do the same kind of thing and like totally blows it. It sucks. Like as much as I love that movie for how weird it is, it sucks.
But I also think The Matrix is a weird case where it's like unsuccessful movies that had come out before with similar elements set the stage for people to understand what this movie was. There's a story I love that Dick Cavett went to see Woody Allen at like Cafe Wa one night.
Okay.
And silence, right?
Uh-huh.
And he was doing his shtick.
Uh-huh.
And Dick Cavett was like, I thought this was the funniest guy I'd ever seen. And no one was laughing. Right. No one was getting it. And I saw him a couple times. And then about a year later, I saw him. And the audience just loved him.
And it was just like the right moment.
And
the moment had come.
The next day, he was written up in the New York Times, and he was Woody Allen. It was permanent. And he said, I realized the first night I saw him, there was no context for what he was doing. And it was like a year in, to some degree, what he had been putting out there had sort of dripped into the culture, even if people didn't know it, where it's like the people who saw him that night and didn't laugh at it then had that in the back of their minds, and then it transferred through osmosis to other things.
And I get what you're going for with this.
And with The Matrix, it's just sort of like...
came at a perfect time.
Like, kung fu movies were a thing that were enough in our DNA as Americans, whether or not we had seen them.
To not be, like, totally niche.
Yeah. Like, all these pieces made sense. Okay, so the movie starts out with what is called Digital Rain.
That's right, yes. The
green
code of The Matrix.
The green code of The Matrix.
Yeah, and you hear a woman on the phone with a guy, and they're like, obviously surveilling someone. It's all very noir-y.
It starts like in action, right? Like mid-action.
They are being tapped by like an unknown force that we don't understand. We see like a trace. Like a phone trace.
Yeah, and they're not using garbage made-up language, right? Which we've talked about a lot on movies that take place in like weird, crazy worlds. If you start with a prologue about what fucking happened, it's like really hard.
Point. That's one thing that really works about this movie, even versus a movie like Inception, where it's like they obviously sometimes they spout jargon and whatever, but mostly it's all very, very grounded language.
And it's pretty conversational. Yeah.
So all things like plug and unplug, things we get.
Well, and it's all the scenes are mapped pretty clearly onto like the objectives are always very, very clear, right? And you hear these two people talking, and it's like, are we being spied on? What's going on here?
Yeah, and they're talking about this. They're also talking about this guy where the guy is like, she's like, the guy's like, do you believe in this thing? And she's like, I don't know, like. So
you have no idea what they're talking about, but here's what you know: they're in danger and they're looking for a guy. Easy.
This is the thing.
I got it.
And I think, as I just said, and we'll talk about the sequels when we talk about the sequels. But I mean, even when you think about a movie today like Batman versus Superman, whatever, like. The fact that they storyboarded this out also clearly, like probably really helped with that. Like let's like ground every scene in something someone can understand.
Well, and this is a movie that cost 10 times more than Bound did, but has the exact same economy of storytelling. Like there's not a wasted frame in this film. But you start like mid-action with that intensity. The two actors are doing good work, just voice only, right?
Totally.
The Digital
Carrie-Anne
Rain,
Moss and Joey Pants.
Yep. Yeah, it's still like a compelling visual, and then you jump straight into this crazy action sequence that's unlike anything you've ever seen before.
This is the thing.
Yeah.
It leads with this, Trinity, this like hacker lady who's like dressed in PVC and has like this crazy like slick back like short black hair.
God, I wanted her haircut so badly.
You're just like, what the fuck is that? Look at this person. Yeah. Like it's beyond any. Forget the action for a second. Just look at this person.
She's very striking.
And she's in this like cat suit, and like a cop tries to arrest her or whatever, and she like jumps in the air and like does a crazy kick,
like a spider
kick,
and
the camera spins all the way around her, which now I guess is old hat, but then was like completely bonkers. The camera freezes and spins 180 degrees around her.
This is a pre-Shrek world. We didn't know that Princess Fiona could do that. This was uncharted territory.
That scene in Shrek is so infuriating.
Remember how funny we all thought Shrek was?
We're not talking about Shrek because the internet talks way too much about Shrek as it is.
Can we do a miniseries called Blank Shrek?
Oh, fuck. It's too good. We have to do it.
Because there are 5 films to talk about.
We would have to get Pilot on board. Oh, because you want to talk about the amusement park film? Or do you mean Puss in Boots?
Puss in Boots. Yeah. I just want to restate, Shrek 4D is a shitty movie.
So, but I mean, the bullet time thing, the spin, is the best.
Yeah, it's the best. And that's like minute 2, second 15.
So good.
Yeah, it's like so early on.
And like, so you're cutting to the Hugo Weaving, this Agent Smith guy, telling the cops like, your men are already dead.
Yeah.
Like he's like, who are these like feds? What is this?
But here's this bigger.
And then she does that, and you're like, oh, she's crazy. And I just want to get to. And then they start chasing her, and she jumps from one building to another, which is cool. And then one of the agents does too.
Yeah.
And the cop does, like, there's like a great, like, Spielberg face of the cop watching it, and he just goes, that's impossible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I love. He doesn't say, like, holy shit, or like, whoa. He says, like, I just won't, I refuse to believe what I just saw.
But it's like high angle camera with the cop looking up, so you have that Spielberg look you're saying where the eyes are wide, you know, and gazing upward. Yeah. And there's this like amazing sign on one of the buildings that just says like guns and ammo.
Yes,
and it's a billboard with a gun.
The look of this movie is immediately
incredible.
Like it's raining, it's dark, the buildings look, everything's real.
Yeah, And it's all green. That's the other thing. It's
Everything's
like all
green.
super
It's
green.
crazy green filters on everything.
Which is my
because we're
favorite
in
color.
The Matrix.
My number one
You're
favorite
wearing
color.
a green shirt right now. As
are you.
Yes. Wow. And I have beautiful green eyes.
Okay, I mean,
No, go on.
ladies. I look at this as a case study of the positive opposite of something we've identified as the problem with a lot of other movies we've talked about on this show, right?
Yeah.
Which is like when a movie starts the way that After Earth does, where it's like in the
boy.
year 2074.
Talk about the opposite
Right?
of a good idea.
You know, the Ursas
Yeah,
were
no,
attacked, this and that.
Imagine if this movie started that way, where it's like humans and machines fought a war, and then the Matrix was created, or whatever. You know, like that would be the worst movie ever. You just tune right out.
So filmmaking's like a magic trick, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to get the audience to believe in this thing that you're doing. You're getting them to look at this hand so they don't notice the other hand. They don't see the plot machinations because they're engaged with the
so
action.
good.
Right?
I love it.
So if you start out by going like, the Ursas could smell fear, I go, you're panicking.
Yeah, right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like if you spend the first 10 minutes of your movie explaining to me everything I need to understand the rest of the movie, you seem scared and I don't trust you. But The Matrix starts out and they're just like, we expect you're going to keep up with this. Mm-hmm. We're not going to feed you anything.
Yeah, it's that argument, right? An argument that a lot of good things have made, which is like, yeah, audiences are intelligent if the thing is good. Then they'll be interested.
And the confidence of this movie, the way it starts, this movie is just such a clearly realized vision, even watching it today, but it just drops you in.
Yep.
You have no idea what the fuck is going on.
Yep.
It's arguably overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
But these filmmakers seem so like strong-minded and like, we're going to make this make sense to you.
I'm just gonna run with this.
Stick with us.
Yeah.
Look at my hand. You know,
Right.
There's
And
nothing up the sleeves. Like, stick with me.
So there's this great chase sequence, which is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Which is where it's just like they're like, look, we know you don't know who she is.
Yeah.
We know you don't know who the guys in the suits are.
That digital text thing, you have no idea what
You
that
don't know
was.
what that rain was.
have
You
no
don't know
idea.
what that opening thing was
Right.
with the trace and the conversation with with Joey Pants.
But admit it's pretty cool.
But it's really cool.
Stick with us.
And then she is running. She gets on a payphone and she whatever. She escapes.
She gets sucked in.
And the agents are like, please, we got a target. So, all right. And so then we cut to Keanu Reeves as like a hacker.
And let's just say, what a handsome face.
Handsome man.
I forgot, like, watching this movie.
So this movie is a very pale movie.
Yes.
Which is crazy because it's also, and this is especially true in the sequels, like one of the most racially diverse and conscious like movies of its kind in history forever.
Yes, but it's
like,
got a
to
sort
this
of
day.
washed out look.
Oh no, totally.
Yeah,
But
right.
this movie, like the two of the three heroes are these like drawn white, like sort of almost a ghost like people.
Yeah, and
And Keanu, that's why Keanu's perfect for this part.
and we
He looks like a ghost.
Yes, and when we say white, we mean it literally.
No,
like he's
white.
He's not
Yeah.
like a peach-skinned
No,
man. The
no.
way they film him, he is white as a sheet
I mean,
of paper.
he is like he looks, apart from the fact that he's like so freaking handsome and he knows how to dress
God,
himself.
He's so beautiful. In
He's
this.
a beautiful
Yeah.
person, but he looks like kind of like a hacker. Like he looks, like someone who like spends his
Has
days
never
looking
seen
at a
sunlight.
screen.
Yeah.
And you never like in these beginning scenes. It's always nighttime and it's always raining.
Yeah,
and he's
and
like
it's always green. I mean, he looks like he's gonna vomit. You know?
Yeah, totally. So he's a hacker, and there's this whole thing where he has like the computer talks to him and tells him to follow the white rabbit. We can't do the whole plot of this movie, but
It's so dense. Yeah, but yeah, I mean,
he's
the computer talks to him, and it's the
he
moment.
feels like he's talking to his computer, and the computer is saying like, "What is the Matrix?"
But this is also like fucking minute 4 of the film.
10.
Whatever. I mean, early on. Oh, right, because the chase is a little bit longer. But like, minute 7 or 8, whatever it is. You have this moment that's like the key moment for any good hero's journey type film.
Totally. And these are movies about the hero's journey.
Right.
And subverting them.
And they establish the
And
entire
enforcing
dynamic in like 15 seconds. Here's a guy sleeping on a keyboard, right?
His life is he's asleep.
Right.
Through his life, he's asleep.
We know that from the first.
It's like he's in a dream.
That's the first fucking shot of this character. What's he
Totally.
doing? He's indoors in a cramped, dark apartment.
yeah.
He's sleeping on a keyboard. This guy doesn't have it going together.
No,
you know?
but it's not
Like,
just that. It's like he's a walking dreamer.
Yes,
and
right,
of course,
right.
that's
He's
the
like a
idea of
zombie.
the Matrix.
He lifts his head up. The person's talking to him. Don't you think there's something out there, Neo?
Yeah,
This sort of
the
promise.
computer's talking to him.
It's the Luke looking at the two sons. There has to be something better out there for me.
They make the reference to Alice in Wonderland, and again,
Yeah,
it makes
lots
it
of
really
Alice in
clear,
Wonderland.
easy
Right.
to follow.
Yeah, follow the white rabbit,
Yep.
and that's right. And he follows this girl with a white rabbit tattooed, and he goes to a club, and Rob Zombie is playing, and Trinity is there.
Dragula.
Yeah, Dragula.
I forgot how much new metal there was in this movie.
That's the other thing about The Matrix. It had this crazy influential soundtrack, and that influence was maybe not so good.
Yeah.
A couple bad years
Yeah,
there.
it doesn't really age
I own
well.
the soundtrack.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I mean, because it's like half new metal and half like just techno music. The techno
Yeah.
stuff's not bad.
The score in this movie is also amazing.
Don Davis, I believe.
It's
yeah.
one who did Bound as well. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They brought over Bill Pope and
Yeah.
Zack Steinberg
Yeah.
and Don Davis, all the guys who worked on their little indie movie.
Yeah.
Just come right to this big thing, and they do great.
And you know what else they brought? A pair of pants.
Well, I don't know what that means.
Joy pants.
Oh god.
A tailor-made pair of pants.
A nice
they put
Italian pants.
They put it right over the genitals of this movie, that pants.
So Keanu,
Yeah.
he meets with Trinity at this bar for a second.
And it almost feels like they're at a fetish club, and it's like, is this
It's totally a
seduction
fetish club.
thing?
There's like people in cages and shit.
You know what I'm saying? Their conversation is so charged that it's like, is this just some sex thing she's trying to rope him into, you know?
That's what The Matrix is.
Yeah.
And then there's this, to me when I was a kid, such an iconic thing where it's like, oh yeah, he's a grown-up, and his job is that he goes into an office building and it's boring.
Yeah,
and like there are cubicles.
Yeah.
Because like, he's a slave.
Trinity wears black leather and he wears a white shirt.
And like there's this scene where his boss is lecturing him and is like, you know, you have to be on time and like you're asleep, you know, it's like you're sleepwalking.
And then he says, how about I give you the finger? And then
no,
he flips
that's
him.
later. That's later.
That's
yeah,
Agent Smith.
Agent Smith.
Yes.
And then Neo gets a FedEx package, and it's
Oh
a
my God.
Nokia phone with like a slidey thing.
It,
Ben,
like-
do you remember this phone?
Of
This
course.
is the hottest phone in
It's
the world.
spring loaded. He hits
It
a
goes
button and the thing
yeah.
like sticks out. Yeah.
Wasn't this like the start of like
It was the
cell
start.
phone
It was the start.
advertising in
Absolutely.
movies?
100%,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Yes.
It was the first cell phone that anyone had ever, except for One Fine Day. They have the StarTax in One Fine Day.
Hey, can I talk about One Fine Day for 1 second?
You'd better be 1 second.
Whoever did the original song for One Fine Day that was nominated for an Academy Award that year.
Wasn't it Diane Warren?
Yeah, I don't remember who sang it, right? But there was like the One Fine Day song, not the song One Fine Day, but
the
there was an
great song,
original
One
song
Fine Day.
written for One Fine Day at the Academy
It's called
Awards.
For the First Time.
Yes.
It was sung by Kenny Loggins.
Hey.
It was a James Newton Howard joint. Anyway, go ahead.
At the Academy Awards that year, they performed the song and they did like a montage of famous couples in movies
Okay.
on the screen behind them. So it was like they were playing that, and then they showed like Bogey and Bacall.
Okay.
You
What's
know,
your
and
point?
they showed like whatever. And then one of the couples they showed was Luke and Leia.
Oh, dear.
And I remember being at an Oscar party with my parents, everyone being like,
Oh.
their brother, and you guys know that. Like it was like Kenny Loggins singing like, and the moment where it happens. And then it was just Luke and Leia smiling at each other.
Well, whatever. Moving on. That's crazy. I
Good
didn't know
impression of
that.
what I think that song sounds like.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I
And the
mean,
moment where it happens, where you
Oscars,
fuck
like
your
96.
sister in space.
so he gets a phone call
Yeah.
from Lawrence Fishburne.
A spring phone.
And Lawrence Fishburne seems to be telling him he's Morpheus. And he seems to be telling him, like, you know, like anticipating what's happening in the world.
Can we
He's
talk
like,
about another moment that, like, at that point, you're just like, this, I can't believe how cool this is.
What?
Zip, open FedEx package,
It's just a
cell phone
phone.
immediately
it
starts
rings.
ringing.
It's great.
Immediately.
It's great.
Like, and at that point, you're like, wait, what?
It's great.
Like,
I mean, it's the sort of postmodern, whatever, cyberpunky version of the fucking Harry Potter thing.
Yeah.
Of the, like, you're special and
Yeah.
we found you. Like, you know, like you are the one person who sees the world for what it is, which is like dull as dishwater.
And you immediately know how special you are because of how special the way we're communicating with
because
you
you're
is.
in a movie.
Yeah,
yeah.
'cause
And-
cool
but
shit's
That's why the
happening.
Matrix works because they are in a movie. It's
Yeah.
called the Matrix.
Yeah.
That's what their reality is.
Yeah.
It's what our that. I could just talk about the Matrix for my whole life.
Like it's so much more difficult to talk about the Matrix for one episode than it would be to talk about it for 40 episodes.
So then I want to cut ahead to the next
Yeah.
iconic scene
Mm-hmm.
after this sort of chase with the phone, which is very fun. Neo gets captured by the agents.
Mm-hmm.
Hugo Weaving gives this fucking Oscar monologue where he's like, you know, in one life you're Thomas Anderson and you pay your taxes, and then he goes like,
Mr. Anderson.
and he says you help your landlady carry out her garbage. You know, like he has these great way of talking. What are you?
David, that is an incredible
Thank
impression.
you. I've watched The Matrix way too many times.
Yeah, but Ben, I'm not alone in this, right? That's like really
it's
strong.
Very solid.
I've watched it too many times.
But you'd be better as one of the backup agents than the guys they
should have
fucking
been one.
hired.
No,
You could
because
have done it.
You
Yeah.
can't just do Hugo Weaving. That's the problem. He's got that weird American accent that's not quite right, which is
you've
perfect.
nailed, yeah.
Right, but like everyone, I feel like should have their own version of that, like rather than just doing a Hugo Weaving.
I mean, look, all I'm going to say is at the very least, put that in a reel, submit it to Mad TV. 'Cause that's you got at least one.
Did you hear they're bringing Mad TV back?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it. You got to strike, David.
Got to do my Agent Smith.
Yeah.
And that's when Neo gives Agent Smith the finger.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck the man.
I give you the finger.
How about I give you the finger?
Yeah.
And you give me my phone call or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
And then they say, how could you make a phone call if you're unable to speak?
Yeah.
And his mouth closes up. It's the craziest. People still talk to me about it when I mention The Matrix, how much that freaked them out.
Can I do a merchandise spotlight for a second?
Sure. Was there a mouth closing up
Yep.
Neo toy?
Yep.
So there was probably a lot of Matrix toys, right?
Yeah.
Like after the fact. A lot of like collectible shit.
Here's what's weird. They actually, and it's like a moment where I think Warner Brothers didn't know how big this movie was going to be. Obviously,
could
no
they
one
have?
could have.
Yeah.
But they had some weird foresight because they actually did have like a full line of action figures that were released when the movie was out, like in theaters. For an R-rated movie, that was like a pretty bold
But I mean, when you
bet.
see this movie, it's a why, why not? Like this movie. Ooh, is that Morpheus calling?
Ben, do you have to take that call?
I don't know. Should I pick it up?
Yeah, pick it up.
All right, hold on.
Ben's doing.
I don't know. Like he's in a different room.
Hello? Keep going. Sorry. Sorry, guys.
Okay,
It's not a bit.
Is everything okay, Ben? So this is actually
it's just not a bit. That's just the glitch in the Matrix. As they
Okay,
say.
but if this now, what if this wasn't a bit, and Ben, the next thing we saw was Ben on the fire escape?
he drops the phone. And,
Yeah. We're probably cutting this out.
But so the thing where his mouth closes up is like a perfect
yes.
nightmarish image.
Merchandise spotlight.
Oh yeah. Okay.
First wave of action figures was just like Neo, Trinity, Morpheus,
Agent Smith.
Cypher, Agent Smith, and Switch.
Hey, she's cool. She's got the blonde hair
They snuck
and
her
the
in
white
there.
suit. She's cool.
And then the second series of toys, they were like, we're going to do moments.
Oh,
It's
so
not
they
the
didn't.
character.
They should have been like APOC. I just want to say APOC because when he does this.
No, they were like, we're going to do moments.
Uh-huh.
So they did Tank with like the gun shooting at
Yeah,
Cypher.
with the like electric gun thing.
They did Trinity and the kick, the flying kick thing.
The
And then the
spider
one that I
kicking thing.
bought that I was like, I thought that was the coolest
It
one.
is the coolest one.
Was Mr. Anderson.
Mhm.
And it's just Keanu in a nice white shirt and slacks.
Sure.
Like screaming with his mouth closed.
The image of his mouth closing, like of the
Yeah.
little sort of like tendrils locking together on his
Yeah.
mouth, is great.
Yeah,
and
I
then
had-
he's basically just got like a patch over his mouth.
I had that toy proudly on my shelf, but I just loved that if you covered up the face, it was just like, there's some guy.
So let's say something.
Yeah.
This whole scene probably is about 20 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
So far we've seen like a lady do crazy like spider kicking and jumping around
Yeah.
buildings, and we've seen this like cell phone sequence where someone's predicting the future, and still like then we have an interrogation scene where they close his mouth up and then they put a bug in his belly button.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, how are you not flipping out at this point? Just being like, what is this movie?
We also haven't seen Larry Fishburne at this point.
We've only heard his voice.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like the idea where you're like, I get it. These are feds. This is like the government. These are men in black.
Yeah.
And they're going to torture him or something. Or they're going to imprison him. It's like, no, what they're going to do is they're going to take out a mechanical object that turns into a bug. Like a big, gross, like, I don't know, earworm.
Yeah.
What earwig or what?
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
it'll force itself into his belly button.
Yeah.
It is the greatest, like, sort of like reversal, or, like you think you're watching an action movie or something. It's like, no, this is like a Cronenberg movie.
Yeah.
All of a sudden.
And then he just wakes up,
then
right?
he wakes up.
It's a hard cut to him waking up. And he didn't
and
know
he's
if
like,
the whole thing was a
"Ah!"
dream.
It's like
yeah.
on his, yeah. But
Yeah.
he's, and then he gets picked up by the team,
Uh-huh.
Morpheus, Trinity.
Switch.
It's Trinity and Switch.
Yeah.
And APOC.
APOC.
And they take the bug out of him with this crazy machine, which is fun.
Yeah, which came with the action figure, even
Oh,
though
yeah?
it was like, well, he's not going to hold it.
Well,
What
it's a
are you
later
gonna-
scene, but
Yeah,
maybe you
right.
could buy a Trinity to have her
Yeah,
do
I guess,
it.
yeah.
And then he meets Morpheus.
Cool guy. Can I say this?
He's
Cool.
got a lot of style.
He's a cool guy.
So Morpheus is in an abandoned house. There's like a thunderstorm outside.
He's sitting in a chair.
He's wearing a floor-length leather coat, leather fucking cape. I don't know how, like.
Yeah.
And he's got pince-nez like sunglasses.
Yeah, they have no arms on them.
Yeah, they just pinch on his nose, and like it's all they're.
And let's say this too, okay? Morpheus sitting in a chair, right? Like a comfy, like sort of like armchair.
Yeah, like a red leather armchair. Yeah.
Now that might sound like an inactive choice. Oh, boring, sitting in a chair. That's a lazy man's position. This guy is sitting the shit out of that chair. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
He totally is.
No one's ever fucking
For someone
sat
who
in a
does
chair.
a lot of sitting in this movie, he does it well.
He sits so fucking hard in this film.
Yeah.
And he gives a speech. I mean,
He gives a speech where it's a lot of like, what if you were dreaming? Like, and then you couldn't tell the difference between the dream and the real. And like,
Yeah.
It's a lot of circular language.
Yeah.
But I mean, his basic choice is like, you can either take this blue pill and you just forget about it, or you take this red pill and you like, you go down the rabbit hole, whatever.
And this is one of my favorite things in the
There's
entire movie.
You're talking about the shot where the hands are reflected in his sunglasses?
Well,
Because that's crazy.
That's crazy, and it's great.
They did that. That's like there's like green film on his glasses to pull that
Right.
off
It's
or
a
whatever.
composite
It's like
shot.
crazy.
Yeah. No, but what I love more than that is you expect Alice in Wonderland style that if he swallows the pill, he'll immediately go into a crazy world.
Yeah, sure.
And instead, he swallows the pill, and they're like, "Okay, good. Follow me into this room."
Right.
And they were like, "What was that?" And he was like, "That pill stabilizes your blood pressure, so we can put you into the Matrix."
Yeah, it's like that. It removes your output carrier signal.
Right.
They like start babbling at him. They sit him down.
But the pill wasn't like just
Right.
It was
then
like
they have to do a bunch of phone shit.
the pill was like means to an end. Like it wasn't a placebo.
Yeah, what's the blue pill do you think? Is it just like Rohypnol? Does it just knock you out or something?
So they can bring him back to his apartment.
It's like NyQuil or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just was a straight up NyQuil tablet. Yeah.
And do you think he has like a lot of those pills? Like, what does he have? Like a pill box? I don't. How many people take the blue pill? It's so many questions.
Yeah.
In the world of the Matrix, we're called blue pills. That's like a Muggle, and like Matrix people are called. People are free are called red pills.
Yeah. So you already hinted at like the new metal thing was like a kind of a pox on culture after this. Like,
A little bit.
Matrix did a lot of this where it was like the Matrix is great.
Like any great influential film, it created a lot of crap in its wake. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of them is the MRA movement, the men's right activists.
Okay.
The scum of the earth.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
The scourge of Twitter and all social media. Yeah.
They're like really into the red pill theory.
I see. They see themselves as red pills. Is that because they're like woke? They
you
like
wake up
understand
and
the
realize
true...
that men are forced into roles that benefit women, and that if we're going to actually live our lives, you have to.
I'm going to venture you've spent too much time of your own personal time like looking into this stuff.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
I like staring into the sun.
I do too, but I've never done that. I've never gone down that rabbit hole. As it
yeah,
were.
it's horrible. I've spent
that's
a lot
bummer.
of time. Yeah,
and I hope that they realize that these movies were made by awesome trans women who are the best and think they suck.
Yep.
Because this is the thing about this movie. It's very utopian in its like in its vision of its heroes and its villains and things like that. And
yeah, it's also a movie about like realizing the real body you're supposed to be, like claiming your real body, and like not accepting the reality that other people put upon you, but finding the truth.
And there's all these ideas. I mean, everyone was made to read this book, Simulacra and Simulacrum by Baudrillard. Now, when I was in college, I took a cyberpunk literature class, which was really cool. And shout out to my professor, Stacy Gillis, who I believe still teaches at Newcastle. And it was the greatest fucking class I took my whole time at Newcastle, because she was a genius. But so we had to read at least part of that book.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of, this French guy going like, I go to Disneyland and I think, this is reality or whatever.
And the book
but it's great.
The book has the accent written in like that, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I go to Disneyland and...
yeah, that's a perfect impression.
Great.
So...
It's part of my Mad TV reel.
Yeah. Great job.
Thank you.
So anyway, The Matrix...
The book.
Right. And so there's also all this stuff, like you're saying, about like accepting that the world around you is not, and the body you're in is not real, but also this free will versus fate shit. That's like the major theme of this, right?
Yeah.
It's like, is this happening because it's supposed to happen because it's a movie?
Right.
Or are you making these choices, and like, creating your own hero's journey?
Well, and this idea of the one,
Right.
There's one who's going to bring balance, who's going to free the people, who's going to be able to defeat the machines. And this entire idea of like,
but or is that right? Is the prophecy itself like that? Isn't that its own form of like controlling kind of crappy, or can you turn that into something real?
so can we talk? I mean, I know we're skipping ahead, but can we talk about the best scene in the movie?
Yeah,
the best scene in the movie is the Oracle's kitchen.
Love that scene.
I think should have gotten an Academy Award nomination. Gloria Stewart, like one of the best one scene performances in history. It is so layered. There's so much going on. Are we skipping over anything major? They bring him into the Matrix. They bring him into the real world.
No, we're skipping some major stuff. So let's briefly, because there's this. He touches this mirror, it like covers him in like mirror goo,
which once again is Alice in Wonderland imagery. It's through the looking glass.
He wakes up in a pink pod. He's naked. He's bald. He's hairless. He's covered in holes.
But let's just say he still looks really good.
He's pretty fuckable.
And more fuckable than ever, actually, because he's got more holes to fill. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh dear.
I don't know if he looks his best, but from a utilitarian perspective, he is the most fuckable he's ever been.
Just continuing this body horror thing, like
fuck the back of his neck.
So horrifying.
He could fuck his forearms.
That scene when all the tendrils that he's strapped to like snap off of him.
A couple spots he could fuck in his spine. I think.
And this is a $60 million movie, Griffin.
Yeah.
And like that vision he has when he like wakes up in the real world and there's like millions of pods or whatever being harvested by like robot tentacles and shit.
Humans as batteries, which is a recurring theme in the Wachowski oeuvre.
That's true. You're thinking of Jupe Ascend. Yeah, definitely.
Jupe Ascends.
This
is so cool looking, though. It's like very H.R. Geiger.
No, of course. Yeah, and I'm sure that the production designer they worked with, Owen Patterson, I think had a lot of those influences. I'm going to look him up.
It's like H.R. Geiger, but with like more fuckability. You know what I'm saying?
H.R. Geiger is very much about fuckability, I think.
Yeah, but I could never find a hole on those xenomorphs. That was the thing. You know, they're very sexual looking, but like I couldn't find a hole. And Keanu, it's like they're having a fire sale on holes.
Enough. I beg you.
Ben, agree or disagree?
I agree.
Great. Moving on.
So then he gets picked up by the crew by Morpheus and the crew.
Switch.
And in the real she's there. Switch. And while in the Matrix, the computer world that we all live in currently to this day, by the way, guys, we all live in the Matrix. They all look like the hottest shit in the universe, and they're like perfectly airbrushed, perfectly dressed, all wearing sunglasses. In the real world, they all wear rags.
Yeah.
And they look like crap.
Yeah.
And they have fucking holes everywhere and like plugs in the back of their necks.
Yeah, and Keanu has a shaved head. Like he's just getting the stubble back. He's a baby. He just got out of the pod. Yeah, he's a baby.
Yeah, they rebuild his muscles. He's a little baby.
Yeah. They give him a bunch of programs to learn stuff.
Well, first they tell him what the Matrix is, which is a fake like reality created by machines after a war with artificial intelligence to use our bodies as batteries.
A TLDR version, it's bullshit. It's a bunch of bullshit. Matrix is a bunch of bullshit.
It's the wool pulled over our eyes.
Yeah.
And then they start to, this movie is so... This is the thing, and this is what we're talking about, where it's like the movie is just like, people can jump across buildings. Got that? Great. People can like put bugs in your belly button. Got that? All right, we're moving through. You touch the mirror, you enter, then it's like, sit in this chair. You're going to do a kung fu scene with Lawrence Fishburne.
But there's 30 or 40 minutes before we get to the scene where Morpheus explains the Matrix. Mm-hmm. You're on board at that point because everything's so cool.
Right.
And then they in one scene explain
what the Matrix is. Yeah.
Perfectly.
And they sum it all up. Of course, it's a tricky scene, like you say, because it is just exposition and explanation.
But it's very visual because it takes place in this weird space.
It's basically like a tutorial.
Yes.
Like it's like a video game, and like Lawrence Fishburne is sitting in his red leather chair again.
Sitting the shit out of that chair.
And he's like, here we are in the real world. Oh, look, this is the real world. And this is the Matrix, and it's controlling you, and and a million minds were woke at the same time.
Hey, talk about being woke. 420, Ben.
Hell yeah, bro.
But then, and so you're like, okay, crazy, sci-fi, get it, cool. And then they're like, okay, now we're going to be a kung fu movie.
Yeah, so they put him in a chair, and our friend
Tank, Marcus Chong
has like a bunch of like floppy disks, and he's like, "These are programs supposed to give you, but if you ask me, most of them are pretty boring. So let's just go straight to this," and just starts loading shit into his head.
And then Keanu wakes up, and anyone who says Keanu's a bad actor can go eat a dick. I hate them.
Yeah,
because he delivers the line, "I know kung fu," like better than anyone ever could.
Yeah.
Could I just say something to that point? Because
How dare
all
you,
right,
Ben.
he's got that reputation as being a bad actor.
He's being wooden. Yes,
but I will say this: I think he's just bad at asking questions. I think it's just like a flaw of his, because like anytime he asks a question, it's always very Keanu.
Yeah.
And it's, a little distracting sometimes.
I think he's an incredible movie star.
Mm-hmm.
He's got like a presence and a charisma that you cannot teach, right?
No, that you can't, and that you cannot replicate.
And it goes beyond just the fact that he's like, fuck, it's such a good-looking guy, right?
Oh, Jesus.
Yes. Very
oh, boy,
good-looking.
oh, boy.
And that he moves really well, that he's like a great physical actor. Because I saw an interview with him where they were talking about John Wick, and they were like, so you do a lot of your stunts in this movie? And he's like, I don't do stunts. Stunts are done by stuntmen. Mm-hmm. I do physical acting.
He has a lot of respect for stuntmen, I believe.
Yes, he does.
And he's very close to his stunt performers on The Matrix, who then went on to direct John Wick.
Mm-hmm.
But go on.
No, but he's like a really good physical actor.
Yes,
like he sells all these sort of motions, and he's expressive in his body in a way that a lot of actors are not. Is he the most nuanced actor? No.
What do you mean, Griffin?
He's got a very specific...
He needs the right director, and he needs the right script, and he needs a lot of the right situations.
And he needs, he fits into certain parts well. He fits into other parts, like Jonathan Harker in Dracula, significantly less well.
His worst acting job.
Yeah, one of the worst acting jobs ever,
Dracula.
I would say.
Very
Yeah.
good.
But it's hard to think of a guy who has had a couple films as iconic as him.
Yeah. I mean, the three biggest, would you agree? What would you say his biggest ones are?
He had this incredible thing where it's like he would get big, then he'd squander it, and people would be like, Keanu's out, and then he'd come back.
But he wouldn't be squandering it. He'd just be doing whatever he wanted to do.
And then he'd come back, and then they'd be like, oh, Keanu's
Love
back.
Keanu.
And then he'd shit out again in the eyes of the public.
Yeah, no, totally.
And then he'd come back again twice as strong.
Yeah, because it's like you got Bill and Ted.
Which he should have won an Oscar
and
for.
his adorable sort of early kind of cute potheady kind, like Parenthood, these sorts of movies,
Right,
That
and My Own Private Idaho.
Well, that's a great performance.
Yeah.
That's a great performance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he kind of reinvents himself in Point Break.
Yeah.
As action, square jawed.
Yeah.
Kind of lunatic, calm, weirdo who you just sort of love.
Yeah.
And then you got I Love You to Death.
Not a movie I've
He's so
seen.
good at that. I'm
Really?
sorry.
I've never seen that.
Not a movie I've seen.
It's it's like this weird movie that I was obsessed with as a kid. It's really good.
That's right in between Parenthood and Point Break.
It's Tracy Ullman, Kevin Kline.
Oh, yeah, right. Tracy Ullman,
Is it the
right.
pizza one?
Yes.
But just to carry on.
Sorry.
No,
All
it's
right, sorry.
fine. I just wanted
Yeah.
Speed.
I got very excited.
How do you feel about Speed?
Great movie.
Gotta keep that bus going.
And then after Speed, it's Keanu, you're a movie star.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
What are
And
you
he's
going to do?
Not do a sequel to Speed.
Right.
Go on tour with my band.
Dog Star.
Yeah, my band Dog Star, where I'm the bassist. It's not even his, he's not even the lead guitarist and the singer. And just kind of hang out.
Yeah. Which, mind you, he did an earlier thing, maybe before Point Break in the post My Own Private Idaho days. They were like, what do you want to do? World is your oyster. And he's like, I want to do Hamlet in Canada.
Yeah, right. He played Hamlet in Canada. He was about the right age for it too. It's good choice, Keanu. I wish I could have seen it.
But he's done a lot of weird left turn moves like that. And then this movie, it's
right. And then so after Speed, he's kind of floating around and making mostly bad movies.
Yeah.
And I was just reading, by the way, the Wachowskis wanted Depp. I didn't know
he
this.
was the first choice.
They could have gotten him.
Yeah.
Because Depp himself is also in kind of a weird sort of valley at this
Yes.
point in his career. He's astronaut's wife
Nick
territory.
of Time. Yeah.
But the studio pushed for Reeves, which is weird because
They
it's
wanted him so
not.
badly.
I mean, I guess they just were. It was only 5 years after Speed, so I guess they were just he's still great. We need a Reeves movie.
He also might have been cheaper at that point in time,
Possible,
which they could
sure.
put the money. He was a name and a face, but they also could have put money into the effects and everything.
Now, what would you do without him in this movie?
No one else could have played this part.
It's one of the most, just to look at him, one of the most, him in the sunglasses, is one of the most iconic movie figures.
And there's that thing with Keanu where it's hard to read him, which is why a lot of people peg him as being stupid, because there's a vacancy there that also I think is more just a sort of an intangible, unknowable quality.
Right.
And his best movie roles use that to their advantage. So Bill and Ted, it's is this guy brilliant or is he a fucking idiot,
Yeah.
And in this, it's you need someone who you can't really read.
Right, and who you can project a lot of things onto.
He's
Morpheus can be this guy's the one, he's the future, he's going to save us all.
And you go like, really?
And Cypher can be like, this guy's like a fucking lost sheep. He's a nobody.
Right.
And Trinity can be like, this guy is one-way ticket to Bone Town.
Yeah, yeah.
This guy is a dick for me to jump on. I mean, she she falls for him. Like, she's like, this guy's hot.
I think we all do. I think America falls for
America
him.
falls right for him.
Yeah.
But, it's all right. It's all relative.
Yeah.
And the Oracle sees him, and she's just like, you'll figure it out.
It's such a good scene. She's making cookies.
Yeah, so, he learns Kung Fu. He has this great Kung Fu fight with Lawrence Fishburne. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then he's supposed to try and do the jump across buildings, and he can't do it.
He fucks up.
And so
there's the lady in red also comes in.
There's the lady in red scene.
Yeah.
Where he's being taught, like, the agents are everywhere, and if you're in the Matrix, like, the computer programs can find you.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Mm.
And then with the lady with the red dress, there's that, I don't remember the character's name.
Mouse.
He's like basically just like, hey, if you want to fuck.
He's a fucking. I was saying this on Twitter last night. You like Mouse, but he's like a little Gamergate freak.
He's gross.
Yeah. He's like, designed her and she fucks you.
Death sticks.
I mean, this movie is tapping into, this is the other thing, that sort of X-Files conspiracy theory shit.
Yeah.
Because that's what the Matrix is so good at, is it's an explanation for all conspiracy theories. It's like, oh, the government's always there at the right time, and they're always like, oh, that's because it's the Matrix, and they're just computer programs. Like, it's, everything works.
It's also like an explanation for, like, depression.
Well, that's the thing.
It's like, do you, like, dislike...
They do that more in Reloaded and Revolutions, but yeah.
Do you dislike any aspect of being a human being?
Right.
The fucking Matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that bullshit?
It's because you are dissatisfied because you know something's wrong, but you just don't know what.
Right.
And then in Reload and Revolutions, they do this thing where it's like, oh, there are all these exile programs, and that's like angels and, monsters and aliens and ghosts.
Yeah.
But I mean, this movie has a thing where deja vu means like that the Matrix is being like fiddled with.
Yeah.
And you have a moment like, oh, I realize this isn't working. Yeah, it's so good.
Glitch in the Matrix. Can we talk about the Oracle
So
scene?
after training him, they
awesome
take him
kung fu battle,
and we're told like, okay, the Oracle is some kind of magic person, and she has told Morpheus like the prophecy of the one who will save us all.
And we've seen so much crazy shit in this movie that the point they build up to the Oracle, you're like, who's this gonna be?
Sure.
You know?
I guess so. It's hard for me to remember now a time where I didn't know that the Oracle was like a nice older black lady who makes cookies, but sure.
But I think we have to force ourselves to try to, like, remember, right? Through fresh eyes. Yeah. The Oracle could be fucking anything at this point, and they could just go to, like a 6th-floor walk-up apartment.
Yeah, they go to, the design of this movie is perfect, and they go to this kind of cool, dilapidated housing project, basically.
There are a bunch of little kids there with their parents.
Yeah, this is... objectively one of the goofiest scenes in the movie. I do too, but I mean, you got to admit, like, in another movie this would fall flat. The cute little bald kid who's bending a spoon with his mind. He's not the greatest actor, and he goes like, he tells the line that, you have to realize the truth.
Can I disagree?
There is no spoon.
Can I disagree with you on one point?
I think his voice just bugs me. Go on.
I think he is the greatest actor. I think this kid might. I think he might literally be the greatest.
Well, it turned out that is Meryl Streep. So,
right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. They go in.
You know who's a great actor is Gloria Foster.
Jesus Christ.
Who plays the Oracle.
Okay, so
and what a fuck up this role could be, because it is a magical black lady. Yeah, like 150%.
Yeah,
and like it is like loaded with cliche. Mm-hmm. Because she's baking cookies, like this idea of like, oh, the fountain of all knowledge, and it's like, wait, what? It's a nice old lady. Reverse.
But she's also chain smoking. She's pretty cynical.
She's cool. That's
she's
the thing.
Been around the block
she makes
a few
it work.
times. Yeah.
I mean, Gloria Foster is like a great Broadway actress. Mm-hmm. Wachowski's very good at casting.
Yeah.
Like smaller roles.
Yeah.
And really good at finding cool, talented actors.
But she says the thing where it's like, don't worry about the vase. And he's like, what vase? And then knocks over a vase in the process. And he's like, how do you know? And she's like, what will really bake your
noodle.
Bake your noodle is
Would
if
you have knocked it over if I told you?
Yeah.
You know what's really going to bake your noodle? I love her. Love her.
Amazing. But every single line reading she has like 5 different layers to it going on. And it is like, what's the hardest thing to convey in the world? That you are the most all-knowing, all-powerful creature in history.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you look at her, and she's got this world weariness, but also this kindness, like running simultaneously. That's like, this person just fucking gets it, and she sees through it. And she very casually just goes like, you're not the one.
Yeah.
You're a nice boy, but you're not the one.
Yeah, and maybe it's all part of a larger thing that's going on, but in the moment, you're like, yeah, okay, he's just a guy. Yeah, right.
Angelina Jolie won this year for Girl Interrupted.
That's correct.
I would have given it to Gloria Foster.
I would have given it to Catherine Keener, which is one of the greatest supporting performances of like the decade.
I think this is maybe the most astonishing one-scene performance I've ever seen.
It's a great one-scene performance for sure.
Insane.
So good.
Yeah.
And helps the movie, like, you know, it's the hinge of the movie and, like, it makes everything forward
I think
work.
it elevates it to a whole different level. Yeah. Because we're getting so steeped in the Matrixy stuff right now that to have a scene where someone's like just like a warm presence, like a human being, you know, and feels so messy and like specific and real. I love it.
We got to talk about another great one scene piece of work, although the actor's in many other scenes, that happens like maybe 10 minutes before this. Cypher talking to Agent Smith at the steak restaurant.
Just hold on 1 second.
Oh, you just
gotta slip on a new pair of pants. Hold on.
You're disgusting.
Okay. Yeah. Go on.
So concurrent with Morpheus's whole thing of trying to figure out if Neo is the one.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, Neo is an anagram of one, guys.
Wait, what?
Maybe he could have just. So this movie is like leaden with imagery. I might have said leaden just 5 seconds ago. So
David, it's a little dangerous for you to throw out concepts that are that big because you have to remember
what. Yeah,
Ben's been toking out so hard right now.
Ben has just been gorging himself on pot edible confections. Yeah. I know all about marijuana.
So crazy, man.
No, anyway. So Cypher.
Yeah.
Cypher, we haven't really talked about him.
Cypher Rage.
Not Cypher Rage. It's not After Earth's Will Smith. No. It is Joey Pants, who did great work in Bound.
Yeah.
We love him.
Love him.
In this, he's bald. He's got like a devilish little goatee, like a little...
Like a long mustache and then one long strip.
One long strip.
One long soul patch strip.
And he is the cynic.
Yeah.
Because you got Neo, he's the new guy.
It's the babe in the woods.
You got Trinity, she's like the right-hand woman to Morpheus, who's the boss. You got
She's
Switch,
the babe in the trench coat.
Switch is the the comic relief.
Right, the best action figure.
I really wanted to make that Switch joke.
Switch?
No, so Cypher's, he's kind of the like, come on, this is all bullshit.
5 comedy points.
Thank you. But right, like, the minute we meet Cypher, he's like the one who's maybe...
Yeah.
He talks to...
So you the one or what?
Talks to Neo, and he's like, man, why didn't I take the blue pill? Does all that.
Probably wondering that. And they hard cut. They go from that scene where he's like, I bet you're wondering right now what happens.
They hard cut to him in the Matrix, talking to Agent Smith.
Yeah.
And eating the most beautifully photographed steak.
I honestly think that scene is what made me like steak. I maybe had not eaten a steak before seeing this movie, and then afterwards I went to my dad and I was like, "Steak good?
Steak good?
Can I try some steak?"
It's just, you always hear like it's tough when you're an actor, and I'm sure you know this, to eat in a scene because then you have to eat the same thing over and over and over again.
Weirdly, the hardest thing,
right? And it's just maybe this is the one time where it wasn't true. Like Joey Pants just got to eat like 8 perfectly cooked steaks. And
the centerpiece of the scene is that he cuts this perfect little piece and spends most of the scene delivering it to this piece. Only has to take one bite.
Yeah, and he says like, I know this isn't real, and
Matrix
I know
is telling me that
it's just telling me that it's delicious and juicy and perfectly cooked or whatever. Yeah. But I don't care anymore
because you know what I say to that? Ignorance is bliss.
It's a great scene.
And you know what else? He's got the Duke. You got the Duke!
It's a Midnight Run reference for you guys. Jay Griffin's just nodding.
Great movie.
So Cypher's working against them.
Right, he got the Duke and he's trying to... Yeah.
And so when they go see the Oracle, he betrays them.
Yes.
And so this is like where it all stuff falls apart. This is the end of the second act.
Throws the cell phone in the garbage can, lets the
agents find them.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And the agents... kidnap Morpheus in a big crazy action scene where they have to escape through the walls, and then Morpheus has this big dirty fight in a bathroom with Agent Smith.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
And a lot of our best friends get killed.
Cypher plugs back into the real world.
Yeah,
and he starts unplugging people, and it kills them. That's how APOC goes.
Mouse.
Mouse gets shot to pieces. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's the first to go. I think the Wachowskis are like, I know you think this guy's cute, but he's a little gross, and we're going to kill him off first.
Our dearly departed Switch.
Switch, you remember her last lines?
Not like this.
Not like this. Yeah. Not like this. Is she like Danish or something? What is that woman?
I think she's Australian. I looked her up. Her voice is very odd in the film.
Belinda McClory. Yeah, because she has a couple lines, because she also has that our way or the highway or whatever.
Not like this.
Yeah, she's Australian.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so they all get unplugged. Dozer gets shot and in the real ship.
They maybe imply
Cypher kills him.
They maybe imply that Switch and APOC had a thing.
No, they're a couple.
They're a couple?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because she's so upset when APOC dies. As is everybody. I mean, the audience is not a dry eye.
I don't accept that. I don't accept that.
Not APOC.
I don't accept that characters are dating unless I see them fuck on screen. It's unsimulated.
Anyway.
Should we leave that in? Or?
Yeah, leave that in.
Okay.
And so Cypher kills the two guys in the ship, Dozer and Tank. Except it turns out he doesn't, because he's about to unplug Neo.
Right.
And he's like, all right, if he's really the one, something's going to happen to stop me from doing this.
Oh, he also gives the whole monologue to Trinity where he explains that he was in love with her.
Yeah, he does. It's really, again, just great Joey Pants because he's delivering it to sleeping people.
Yeah.
He's delivering it to a sleeping Trinity, and they're cutting to Trinity on the phone. But he jumps on her her sleeping body, and he delivers it to her face. It's great.
So what you're saying is it's a fine pair of pants.
It's a fine pair of Italian pant.
And then they're gonna unplug Neo.
And he's like, and he literally is like, hey, man, if Neo's the hero of this movie,
then
I can't do this,
about.
can I?
Yeah.
And then Tank shows up and kills Cypher. It's great.
Yeah.
Cypher goes, no, I don't believe it. I can't do him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't believe it.
Yeah.
You got the doke.
Okay. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
It's a good scene.
It's a great scene.
He gets the gun is weird. It's like an engineering gun or something. It shoots electricity.
Yeah, it's got like a blue bolt of stuff.
It makes a cool noise.
You know what else
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, you know what else is cool?
The Matrix?
The Matrix.
Everything about it.
Ben, what were you going to say?
Well, I don't know if we've really touched upon too much, but their ship and just
the Nebuchadnezzar.
Oh, you talking about that fucking Nebuchadnezzar though?
Yeah, I love the set design of that, and I think it's so cool that they justify the future world that all the humans are underground. They kind of reference the city that exists.
City of Zion's the last unplugged city.
Yeah, we don't see it, but we hear about it. It's like in the core of the earth.
Oh, and Tank and Dozer are pure human. They've never been
can't
plugged
plug in because they are born in Zion.
But it's all that little stuff that's just you don't need much of it. It's just enough information. It's so great. I fucking love this movie.
It's so good. And as you're saying cool, we should talk about how cool everyone looks in the Matrix. It's your digitalized self or whatever, as Morpheus puts it, where you just look like badass.
Perfect. You look perfect.
Yeah. It's a great excuse for them to all look perfect all the time.
Movie stars.
Yeah, exactly.
The Nebuchadnezzar also looks like what another spaceship would shit out. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. It's this weird misshapen turd
it's
with
like a
all
turd.
these. Its engines are these weird little pads all over it that zap out electricity.
It looks like the Millennium Falcon's doo-doo.
That's a good metaphor. Yeah. Kind of looks like I don't know, it looks like some sort of tool only a plumber would have, where he'd be like, oh, for this you need. And he pulls out this weird misshapen hammer.
We're going to have to take a Nebuchadnezzar to this one.
Nebuchadnezzar, of course, is the god of dreams, right? From, I forget which mythology.
Nebuchadnezzar, of course, is also the most fun word to say.
It's a fun word to say. No, right. Nebuchadnezzar is like an ancient king of Babylon, right?
Okay.
I think there's something to do with dreams, though.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Morpheus who's the god of dreams. That's what I'm mixing up there. Yeah.
So Morpheus is kidnapped.
Morpheus is kidnapped by the agents.
Trinity and Neo are back
Trinity
in the real
and Neo
world.
get home with Tank.
Yeah.
And they are like, we have to kill Morpheus because he could give up the secrets of Zion. He could get, they're going to torture him.
We have a skeleton crew now. It's a tight crew of three trying to get one.
And P.S., the Oracle told Neo, Morpheus is crazy. He's really devoted, and he's going to sacrifice himself to save you. He won't think twice about it.
Yeah, she says poor
so
Morpheus.
Neo's got a lot of guilt because he's like, I'm not the one. This isn't worth it.
Right.
So
do I die and let him? Yeah, right.
So they say we're gonna need guns, lots of guns,
and boy, do they get them.
Yeah, and then it's that, and then it's basically the action happens. I mean, there's been lots of action. Talk about a movie that knows how to dole out action at perfect beats.
Yeah,
not say Batman versus Superman, where it's fun opening 2 minutes, hour and a half of nothing, and then all the actions at the end,
What are you talking about nothing? Holly Hunter drinks urine. There's a lot of stuff going on in that movie.
Blech. Hope you guys all enjoyed the bonus episode, by the way.
Yeah. Talk about negative influence of The Matrix. Stupidly, This film was blamed for the Columbine killings.
Oh, because they were like wearing trench coats and shit?
Trench coats, and they had a bunch of guns, and they thought it like fetishized this thing, right?
Wait, is that true?
Yeah.
No, Columbine was before The Matrix.
Columbine happened April 1999.
Yeah, April 20th.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're right. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's like right before.
Yeah.
Which like makes it all the more ridiculous.
Yeah,
but whatever.
Here's another
Columbine's
thing.
a huge bummer, guys.
Yeah, Columbine fucking sucks. I'll go on the record saying I don't like Columbine, right? The town, but also I thought the shootings were bad. I have always had a gripe with this sort of thing. I think it's like a fundamental problem in our country.
It's cheap. It's yeah.
Well, it's also fucking how we talk about like mental health, you know? Where it's like if someone wants to do that, there's a bigger problem here that we're not taking care of because we stigmatize mental health.
Sure. But
because guess what? Like we saw The Matrix and we didn't shoot people.
oh. Well, yeah, no.
Okay,
no,
I
no,
saw
no.
The Matrix and
No,
I didn't
I'm
shoot
kidding.
people.
It's a terrible thing to kid about.
No, but you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, yes, maybe they got the idea from that movie, but also if you see a movie and go, oh, I should do that, then you're someone who needs help.
Okay, let's move on.
Yes,
let's
please.
move
Yes,
on.
please.
Jesus Christ. I mean, if you feel like you want to shoot someone, get help, guys.
Don't do it. Yeah.
That's our message on Blank Check Pod.
But I mean, it's fascinating.
No more.
It is fascinating that this film spawns the Red Pill movement.
Yeah, a lot of bad things.
Yeah.
It also spawned the great Jet Li movie, The One.
Yeah.
No, I mean, but like a lot of that. You know, it made martial arts kind of like a hip thing to have in a Hollywood movie again.
Yeah.
After like the sort of first wave of that, which I guess is sort of the Bruce Lee era.
Also, shooting the fight scenes, I feel like it was really influential.
Yes.
The way they shot, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the bullet time thing was a game
The bullet
changer.
time thing was
For
crazy.
Sure.
Then, you know, this whole action scene plays out where they have to break into an office building, like a crazy big tower, to get Morpheus back.
It's a tower heist.
It's a classic tower heist situation.
Casey
you know,
Affleck's
just
there,
like
playing fifth fiddle.
Gabrielle Sidibe,
Yeah.
and
Michael Pena,
do you want to keep naming the cast of Tower House?
Eddie Murphy, Ben Stiller, Alan Alda, Tay Leone,
Is that all of them?
Matthew Broderick.
Matthew Broderick, right? That's what I was
I
thinking.
think that's all be above the line,
yeah.
above the title players.
Anyway, so you know, there's this. I mean, when I was 13, I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. He walks through the metal detector,
Yeah.
and they're like, we need to. Do you have any loose change? And he like opens his coat, and he's covered in guns.
Yeah,
yeah,
cool.
It's a little creepy.
Yeah.
When you think about it the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know, like you got Columbine in my head now for sure.
Yeah.
But when I was just so cool.
As a movie, it's a cool moment.
I remember
They've also set up at this point that it's not real. Like it's like a
well,
fucking.
that's the interesting thing about it because they
the
murder
security
with
guards.
impunity.
Yeah.
But I think it is this idea of like, look, the Matrix is kind of fake. It's it's weird, tricky territory. They don't get into it at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's an interesting thing they keep
Like,
on
what
doing.
happens when you die in the Matrix? Do you just die? You do.
Yeah, well, they say that.
You
Yes,
do.
They say that, and they show that.
But it's like you're just a slave to a digital world, so who cares? I don't know.
There is an interesting thing they keep on doing in the film where, like, they'll shoot an agent, and then after they die, they'll turn back into another person. Like,
Who
the
is
agent
dead.
took over their body.
Right.
I do like that they cut to that. Like, it
Totally.
makes it dark, but
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
also
yeah.
not pretending like there aren't consequences to their actions.
Sure. No, agreed. I agree.
And they do explain that with the dead, they turn them into black goo that feed babies.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. They liquefy the dead
Yeah.
Just
to
wanted to
feed
point
the
that
living.
Yep.
They never explain where the babies come from, and I always wondered about that. But
Well, you stick a penis in a vagina, and then a bunch of cum goes into an egg. and
my
then
God.
into a bag?
Cum goes into an egg.
Oh, I thought you said bag.
You make eggs a la cum. You haven't heard about eggs a la cum? It's a really good baby recipe.
Oh my god. Okay, it's getting a little hot in here.
Yeah, it's getting really hot.
Yeah. Now it's getting hot in here, too.
Yeah. Eggs a la cum.
Wait, this action scene. The action scene's just cool. I remember watching some crappy I Love the 90s type thing a million years ago on the BBC or whatever.
Yeah.
And Simon Pegg, the actor who, spaced his great show, ripped off The Matrix a bunch, talking about how cool it is that they shoot people with their guns and then they just drop the guns because they have more guns. And
Yeah,
it's
they
like,
don't need it.
whereas Simon Pegg is like, keep the guns. Like, that's a good gun. You just shot someone with it. And it's like, no. They've got more guns.
We're in the Matrix.
And
Yeah.
they do all this cool bullet time stuff. It's, I don't know. Again, this is now we're hung up. It's
great.
like The Matrix is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
There is no spoon. They blow up an elevator.
Yeah. They parody that scene from Scary Movie.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
I was trying to do a backwards joke.
I know, I get it, but I don't even know which scene it is.
There's a scene where the killer throws a knife at Anna Faris and then she goes into bullet time.
Oh, yeah.
That was a backwards joke. Classic backwards joke.
And then parallel to this, you've got, again, Hugo Weaving just having so much fun chewing scenery.
Yeah.
Delivering monologues to Lawrence Fishburne's like drugged corpse of a body, you know. And it's interesting, as I said this, I realized there's a lot of that in this movie. There is a lot of one-way monologuing.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't work.
Nope.
It really shouldn't work.
No.
Because you've got Morpheus talking to Neo about the Matrix. You've got Smith talking to Morpheus about how he hates the Matrix. He hates people. You've got Cypher, you know, like it shouldn't work, but it totally works.
Yeah, this movie works. You said last week we were talking about Bill Pope and his work on Bound, and you said like he's one of the most underrated DPs, and the fact that he's never nominated for an Oscar is insane.
It's an outrage. It's crazy he wasn't nominated for this.
Well, so that's I heard what you were saying last week, and still watching this movie was like, well, he must have. Who beat him for the Oscar that year?
Conrad Hall won for American Beauty, which is a great piece of cinematography,
and it was a posthumous work.
No, that was Road to Perdition.
Oh, you're right. Yes,
but you know, he was like an old hand, and it was cool that he was like. But the other nominees that year, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do this.
These are all really good nominations.
He wasn't even fucking nominated.
No.
Like, I mean, A, it's an incredible piece of work, and B, it's one of the most influentially shot films. Yeah.
You've got Dante Spinotti's work on The Insider, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, agreed.
Michael Mann's The Insider. You have Emmanuel Lubezki, Chivo himself. This might have been his first nomination
Sleepy Hollow?
For Sleepy Hollow, which is a gorgeously photographed movie.
An incredible looking film, yeah.
You have Robert Richardson, you know, Quentin Tarantino, Martin Scorsese collaborator, for Snow Falling on Cedars, which is that weird, rare solo cinematography nomination at the Oscars. Gorgeous movie.
Yeah.
Not a good movie.
Boring as shit.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
You know, who's that? Ethan Hawke, Scott Hicks movie. Not a good movie.
That's the best joke in Horrible Bosses, though.
Yeah, the Jamie Foxx rented.
Pirated. Yeah. That's what he got arrested for. Yeah, okay.
So, and then you have Roger Pratt's work. I mean, Conrad Hall for American Beauty's winner. Roger Pratt's work on The End of the Affair. You could have dropped Pratt or Richardson.
Yeah, that's what I would have done.
I mean, you know, it's crazy that he wasn't nominated.
Yeah, and let's talk about, like, Best Picture and Best Director, okay? Because these are categories where The Matrix should have been nominated and Wachowski should have been nominated. And Screenplay, right? So for Best Picture, I believe that year we have The Insider, deserves to be in there.
100%.
Right? We have The Sixth Sense. We both obviously back up that decision.
I wouldn't nominate it, but it's a good movie, and I get it.
I don't protest the nomination.
I get it.
We have The Cider House Rules. Kick that.
That's the Miramax entry. Lasse Hallström.
We have The Green Mile. Come on, guys, get the fuck out of here. And then the fifth one is American Beauty, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so, you know, there's room to put The Matrix in there.
Yeah, I mean, here's some movies that came out in 99. Eyes Wide Shut.
Toy Story 2.
The Iron Giant.
Toy Story 2.
Rosetta, the Dardennes movie, which is incredible.
Toy Story 2.
The Blair Witch Project.
Toy Story
Being
Doves.
John Malkovich.
Toy Story 2.
Princess Mononoke.
Toy Story 2.
Galaxy Quest.
Toy
American
Story 2.
Movie.
Toy Story
Three
2.
Kings. Election.
Toy Story 2.
All About My Mother. Office
Story 2.
Space. Bringing Out the Dead. Magnolia.
Toy
Fight
Story
Club.
2. Doug's first movie.
The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Toy
Summer
Story
of
2.
Sam. It's crazy how many big movies.
It's a great year. It's a great year for film, and you have like two like real basic movies nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, even if, you know, we dislike American Beauty now, there's a big difference between American Beauty getting nominated and like fucking Cider House Rules being nominated.
No, of course. I mean, it's crazy that they didn't nominate The Matrix, but of course then it's also not crazy at all because it was like a weird sci-fi movie. And it had also come out in March, which is, you know.
Best Director, I feel like they got much closer to getting right because they go Michael Mann, M. Night Shyamalan, Sam Mendes. Then they nominate Spike Jonze for Being John Malkovich, which is a cool nomination. Mm-hmm. And then the fifth person is...
Actually a good question because I think it might be Lasse Hallström.
Was it? Jesus Christ.
Because they didn't nominate Darabont.
Mann, Shyamalan, Mendes, Jones. You looking it up?
The Wi-Fi's bad.
Oh, okay, yeah. Whatever. They should have put the Wachowskis in there. Also, Gloria Stewart should have been nominated. Also, Joey Pants should have been nominated. Also, they should have given Keanu Reeves a Lifetime Achievement Award.
I will find that. I'm just like...
Excellence in being Keanu. The end of the film, they
Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, they escape. They get Morpheus. Morpheus breaks out of chains.
So many cool things.
Yeah.
They fucking have a helicopter and they like shoot everyone to death with a big minigun.
Right. They do the scary movie scene, and then Morpheus jumps. Backwards joke. It's a backwards joke.
Yeah, he jumps and he catches Keanu.
And then they're hanging from the helicopter, and then they go down to a subway station, and they're like, "I think we're all good. Let's all go back in."
They get Trinity and Morpheus out, and then Keanu has another. And also, Keanu has that showdown with the one agent where he shoots the guns at him, and the agent just goes like,
"Oh, it becomes like 6 bodies at the same time."
So cool.
Yeah.
And then the agent tries to shoot Morpheus, and Morpheus like almost dodges the bullets himself with the most iconic bullet time where he's.
Yeah, where it's literally the bullets flying by.
Yeah, where he's like laying down almost. Yeah. And Lasse Hallström was the fifth.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh boy. And
they think they're in the clear, and then
there's
Agent
one
Smith
last amazing.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's like more than one because he has a big fight with Agent Smith in the subway train.
Dies. They kill him.
Well, no, then there's a big chase.
Oh right. Yeah.
And then Agent Smith shoots him to death.
Yeah.
And then he's dead, like Jesus died. Our savior.
Ugh, I knew this was going to come
Well,
up.
I mean, it's very,
Talk about bad things that The Matrix inspired.
Jeez.
Do you know that Christianity didn't exist before The Matrix?
Of course. Of course I knew
People
that.
took all the wrong lessons from The Matrix.
And then he wakes up because Trinity gives him a little kiss, which doesn't happen in the Bible.
Yeah. I know. The Bible needed like one more pass. I feel like it was so close to being like, it's a good book, but it's not great.
You want to talk about blank checks.
I will say
that,
and we'll talk about The Matrix Reloaded later, but, the core point of what's going on in The Matrix, I just want to say, I'm so nerdy about The Matrix, is that Neo has fallen in love with a person, whereas the one is supposed to fall in love with humanity.
Yeah.
Because the one will want to save humanity.
Right.
So it's crucial that he is revived by one person. Anyway, doesn't matter. That's not in this movie. So let's move on.
Cool. She gives a great speech about how the Oracle told her that she would
fall
fall
in
in
love
love with
with
the
the
one, so she knows that he can't be dead because she's in love with him.
So, you've got this general sense that the Oracle is pulling everyone's strings.
Yeah.
It's all very vague, but she's telling Morpheus, go look for the one. She's telling Trinity, you're going to find the one, but she's not telling Neo, you are the one, because, of course, he's got to figure that out for himself for the whole magic to work.
Right.
Then the whole crazy Shazam.
He's got to become a ghost.
The holy
like
ghost.
Cypher Rage.
No.
Yes.
Cypher is like Judas.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's all very He wakes up and he jumps into Agent Smith. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, he jumps inside that body.
And then he blows him up from the inside.
Yep, and then he's just the one. Oh,
and then he can see the Matrix.
There's the great fucking shot, too, where like Agent Smith is doing kung fu moves on him, and Keanu isn't even flinching, and he's just holding his arms
slow
out.
motion, he's just like, and he stops the bullets with his hand, all that stuff. That's
great. He does
great.
like 4 of the coolest things that anyone's ever done in a movie.
You're just like,
this is cool. I'm having a fun time.
And then he blows him up from the inside.
Yeah.
And then he can see the Matrix, like he can see the world's code, essentially.
Yeah.
And then, movie over.
They celebrate. He stops the Sentinels. We forgot to mention the Sentinels. Sentinels are really cool. They're robot squids.
Squid. Yeah, he doesn't stop them. Morpheus does.
Yeah, right. They just needed him to come back.
They need him to come back so they can shoot the EMP.
And then the final moment is like a voiceover of him on the phone telling, he's got his cool monologue at the end of things are about to change, this and that, and he walks out of a phone booth and he flies into the sky like Superman
while Rage Against the Machine plays.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Good movie. Would watch again.
Yeah, it's about 2 hours, 15 minutes.
I mean,
it flies by.
A good runtime. Maybe my favorite runtime. We're talking RTs.
So now let's talk about it. It was a hit.
People went to see it, and they paid money to go see it in theaters.
So its first weekend, can you tell me the top 5 in April 2nd weekend, 1999?
Well, I know that 10 Things I Hate About You opened that weekend.
Number 2.
That's number 2. Number 3, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Because I think I saw 2 of the 3 films released that weekend. The Matrix was the one I didn't see. This tells you a lot about what my interests were at this time.
Correct. 5 movies. Yeah, 5 movies came out this weekend.
Okay, I think
3 major.
I think, was there another comedy in the top 5?
Yeah.
Was it The Out of Towners?
Correct.
I saw that with my mom.
Yeah, with Steve Martin and Goldie Hawn.
Yeah.
And John Cleese. Yeah.
Not good.
No, bad movie. But so yeah, 10 Things and Out of Towners both make about 8 mil. Matrix, no. Matrix collects 37 mil.
Okay.
10 Things makes 11.5 over the longer weekend.
It's not a good number.
And Out of Towners makes 8.
Yeah, okay. So that's 1 through 3, right? In order?
Yeah. Can you do number 4? Yeah, you got number 3.
Okay, number 4.
10 Things ends up with a total gross of 38 mil.
Yeah, that's
weird. It was
yeah.
very much a long-lasting sort of.
Hey, I just looked something up the other day. Do you know what the final domestic total was on Zoolander 2?
What?
$28 million. That's insane how low that
Probably
is.
costs
right?
a lot more than that, right?
Yep.
I mean, that movie was a bomb.
I didn't see it.
So number 4.
Give me a hint.
It's a comedy. It's in its second week of... No, it's in it. I'm sorry. It's in its 5th week of release.
Interesting.
Falls from number 2 to number 4. It's made 80 mil at this point, which is its budget.
I know what it is.
Wow.
Analyze this.
Correct.
Because I was thinking, what's on track to make 100?
Yeah. Oh, it makes 100, yeah.
I think it makes 100. I think it cracks 100 because I
Yeah,
remember
106.
Lisa Kudrow hosts the MTV Movie Awards that year.
Mm-hmm.
And the opening is a parody of Austin Powers' The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Okay.
Dr. Evil reveals himself to be Billy Crystal, and she's like, Billy, we just crossed 100 million.
Oh, I remember that. That's funny. I remember that very thing.
Yeah.
Do you watch Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt?
I haven't watched this season yet. Yeah. You're talking about Unbreakable.
Unbreakable.
Fuck you guys.
And number 5, falling from number 1 in its 3rd week of release.
Okay, give me a hint.
It's a weird fucking movie. It's a nominally a romantic comedy, but very dark for a boring rom-com.
Interesting.
It's weird, a strange movie. Maura Tierney's in it. The great Maura T.
Was it like an Oscar type movie?
No.
More attorneys, but is she top bill?
No, she's like the 3rd or 4th.
It's a weird, dark, romantic comedy. It had been number 1?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Don't
no,
start this.
it had been number 1. Yeah, I don't know what else to tell you, so I'm just gonna.
What's the total right now? What's the domestic total as of this
weekend? $36 million.
Interesting. And it's its 4th week of release?
3rd.
Give me one more hint. And
Ben
then
Affleck's in it.
Oh, Forces of Nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird movie. And that was number 1 for like 2 weekends in a row or something? It was
I guess so.
Fairly successful.
Yeah. I mean, Affleck was hot back then. He was hot. It was the year after Armageddon. He was a hot guy. And Bullock was hot,
We were Armageddon it on with Ben, our love affair with Ben.
But I mean, that's a weird movie, right?
That's a very weird movie.
Yeah, it's an odd one.
Yeah.
It's kind of that weird late 90s where the rom-coms get dark, like Bounce. Yeah.
Yeah, I also remember them being like, Ben and Sandy, they might be the new... Like, I remember them like threatening to make 4 more Affleck and Bullock movies.
Oh, no thank you.
Yeah, I don't know more of that.
Some other movies floating around. Ed TV, the great Ed TV, which I adore, which predicted all reality television almost exactly, which is crazy.
And also has a long monologue devoted to Rob Reiner's penis implant.
Right at the end. That's the climactic. That's like the climax of the movie.
Yeah.
Is Ellen DeGeneres talking about Rob Reiner's dick.
Yeah.
You've got, no, it's McConaughey mostly talking about.
Yeah.
Ed TV, one of the great McConaughey performances.
I need to see it again.
Great, yeah.
That's the True Detective prequel, right?
Correct. Yeah, it is. And Shakespeare in Love, Life is Beautiful, some of the Oscar leftovers. You got Doug's first movie in there, as you were.
Good pull.
Baby Geniuses, one of the worst films ever made.
Saw that in theaters.
And just the other 2 new releases, which are both indie, tiny, like 6-screen releases. Cookie's Fortune, the Robert Altman movie.
Oh.
And The Dream Life of Angels. So.
I don't know if I've ever even heard of The Dream Life of Angels.
It's a tiny little indie movie.
Okay. Well, made a lot of money.
Yeah, so, and as we said, it never went away.
Yeah.
Weekend number 2, it made 22.5 mil. Like, it was one of those phenomenons.
Here's the thing I remember distinctly. I was a big Entertainment Weekly reader growing up. Entertainment Weekly would usually, bet their money on what was going to be the biggest movie coming out that weekend, and that would be the cover story. Like, here's the biggest film. Mm-hmm. The Matrix, even though Entertainment Weekly was owned by Warner Brothers, they just, didn't anticipate it. And so The Matrix was the cover of, week 5 of its release.
It's like, the big, surprise
we have to catch
of the
up
summer.
with it. Yeah. But it was that thing where it was no one really, other than the company that manufactured Switch action figures and clearly anticipated the amount of love the film was going to get, people weren't ready for what it was going to be. At the very least, they'd be like, that might be a little hit as just an action movie.
Right.
but it changed the game.
I remember the TV spots for it. I was in America, I think, when it was around it was being advertised. There was this spot that was just like, it was a shot of like one of the people turning into an agent. You know, that weird thing where their face kind of presses into a new person's face.
Mm-hmm.
And then like a shot of someone jumping over a building, and then Keanu just going, whoa. And it just saying The Matrix. And I was just like, what is this movie? I gotta see this. What is this fucking crazy movie?
But that's a confident advertising campaign too. That's like, we'll trust that you are curious enough that you'll come in with us telling you nothing.
Can I tell you some trivia?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so Warner Brothers balked at the budget, gave him $10 million, and they used it to, apparently, this is all IMDb, so who knows, they used it to shoot the opening. You know, all the stuff with Trinity and stuff.
Okay.
And showed that to Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers was like, okay, cool.
Cool.
You know, Yuen Woo-ping, the classic Woo-ping, the classic action choreographer refused. He asked for an exorbitant amount of money, and they were like, fine. And he was like, I really don't want to do this movie. All right, I have to have total creative control over all fights. And they were like, fine. And he was like, all right, I guess I'll, he kept making crazy demands, and they were like, we want you.
Cool.
Can I tell you guys about the influence of this movie on me?
Please.
Okay, so I was a bit of a prankster.
What?
I can't believe that.
Yep. So yeah, I love making prank phone calls.
Yeah.
And so this,
like a crank yanker?
Sort of a crank yanker. Yeah. But this movie influenced me. Let's say I developed a particular bit where I would call strangers and I would basically play the Morpheus kind of role.
Okay.
And I did it a lot. Again, definitely was under the influence. Token that green.
The wacky tobacco?
Yep. But me and my friends would hang out and we would call people and just be like, is this John Smith? John, we've been watching you. And just like, yeah, and they would usually hang up. Sometimes you get maybe an old person that would stay on the line because they were lonely.
Well, that's a sad note to end on, Ben.
Yep. Just wanted to share that with you guys.
Thanks, Ben. I'm trying to see if there's any other cool. Ooh, okay. Belinda McClory, who plays Switch.
Hey.
If we were doing a 10-episode miniseries about The Matrix, I feel like there'd be a lot of Switch, Switch material.
She would be our Gra-Gra.
Yeah, she's like a Gra-Gra or a TC-14.
Yeah.
Switch was originally going to be played by androgynous actors, a male actor in The Matrix and a female actor in the real world. Hence the name Switch.
Very interesting.
Warner Brothers said no.
Yeah.
So McClory was going to just play the female version, like
right.
But like that's the kind of ideas that the Wachowskis are sort of fucking around with.
But she is a very androgynous performer.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and a lot. I mean, so is Trinity.
Yeah.
So is Keanu. Sort of. Everyone's kind of.
Keanu's got pretty feminine features. I mean, he's like he's a pretty man. Do you have any more trivia facts there? Because I'm getting something here in my earpiece.
No, not just yet. Let's see. Carrie Ann Moss had never seen a movie before that she was in before she watched this one.
I thought the fact was going to be she'd never seen a movie.
She'd never seen a movie before.
She showed up on set and she was like, What is this we're doing here? Is this like a book?
Yeah. By the middle of 2002, the bullet time sequence had been spoofed in over 20 different movies.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Oh, boy. I mean, like, there was Max Payne, which is a video game in which you could enter bullet time. Like, that was the whole premise of the game.
You had to get enough pills.
You could go, like, and, like, dive around shooting people. Like, that's how cool bullet time was.
The coolest.
Yeah, this trivia page is a fucking mile long.
Yeah, not worth doing.
Oh, the other crucial thing is that this movie used a lot of the sets of Dark City and filmed in the same place.
Yeah, because Australia.
Sydney.
Yeah.
And like I think borrowed a lot of the designers from Dark City and stuff like that. So I don't know.
David, excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm getting something here in my earpiece. Was it?
That's what I thought it was.
It's time for a burger report.
Burger report.
Ben, last week you teased.
I haven't even eaten a burger in the last week.
I'll say I went to 3 burger places in the last week. 0 Famos.
Damn it.
I'm putting in the legwork. Famos, just get out there. Eat a burger. Help me out.
So, Ben, who did you tease last week?
John Mayer.
John Mayer, yeah.
Oh. I've never heard a story about him being a jerk.
Oh, man. All right. So I'm trying to remember the particular event that he was attending because there were a bunch of Famos. I feel like it was a Jennifer Aniston film.
He was dating her for a while.
Yeah.
He was.
So this is probably around then. I'm going to try to give like a year so maybe you guys could figure out the film. I'm going to say this was probably 2010, I think. Sounds about right.
Maybe Horrible Bosses?
Yeah, it might have been the first Horrible Boss.
Maybe it's like a few years, then like maybe it's like
I think that was
2009.
Correct, it was 11. So The Bounty Hunter with Gerard Butler?
It was definitely
Or was it The Switch with where
Justin Bateman.
Jason Bateman impregnates her against her will?
Yeah, or
little movie.
there's, I believe, the 2009 film Love Happens with Two-Face.
Literally never heard of that movie.
Yeah, I think it's like a movie like that. Like maybe it is Love Happens.
I think it's Love Happens.
But so they had this like kind of like little VIP party, and so
Aaron Eckhart,
just to throw out some names of people who were there, Jennifer Aniston was there.
Okay.
Actually, Dave Matthews was there.
All right. Wow. So
Interesting.
real like high white guitar douchebag quotient.
Yeah, he got very drunk on tequila, like very, very drunk. Like
Cool.
he basically was just like, leave the bottle, man, and was like kind of rude and got wasted. But I thought that was cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Who else was there?
Who else was there? Oh, fuck. Well, I think Chris Rock. I mean, honestly, I have so many of these stories, they all kind of blend in with each other.
Can I wager? I think I've cracked what movie this is.
Okay.
Was this perhaps Just Go With It? The Adam Sandler film in which Dave Matthews appears?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
good
that's
point.
what this is.
That was 2011.
And,
Okay.
And,
So maybe it was the rap party or
yeah,
something.
and Rock is obviously a Happy Madison crony.
Yeah, right. He's he'll be at any Sandler party.
So anyway, with all that said, this was like happening probably at like 10 o'clock when like people were showing up. John Mayer shows up like a couple hours early, okay? And he's
weird.
just hanging out at the bar, right?
Yeah.
And he gets a burger.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's just hitting on women the whole time.
What a creep.
And I'm pretty sure, like maybe him and Jen were just friends, but it was super gross. And like he even was like hitting on some of the people on the staff. Allegedly. I always have to say this now.
Allegedly, that was what was happening with John Mayer.
And he was just a total
Trying to find exactly
douchey,
when he
gross
dated
bro.
Jennifer.
Yeah. I remember him being her date to the Oscars one year.
Yeah, it's like the problem is if you Google it, it's just lots of articles that are like John Mayer's a jerk to Jennifer Aniston. Or,
Yeah.
he said a mean thing in an interview.
Did he like the burger though, Ben?
It seems like around early 2011.
Okay.
So it's the right time.
Did he like the burger?
He did like the burger.
Oh my god.
It's a good burger.
it's a
good
fucking
burger.
really good burger.
Well, that's been the Burger Report. As
Great
always, if you have any burger reports of your own,
Yeah,
feel
tweet at
free
us.
to tweet us, email us. Open invitation to all. I'm going to keep on hitting up burger joints. Hopefully, I'll get a good scoop one of these days. You know, I love Famos, and yeah.
You love it's what everyone knows about you is that you love Famos.
I love Famos.
Can I just add one thing?
Please.
I had a brief interaction with Jennifer Aniston, and she called me cute.
Ben.
She said, "Yo, you cutie," and like kind of touched my arm a little bit.
Ben.
So
What a sweetheart. Just
let you
named
know.
People Magazine's most beautiful person this year.
Ben.
yeah,
Jennifer Aniston called you a cutie?
Well, he is a
She-
cutie.
Yeah, of course he's a cutie. He's our little cutie.
yeah. Wait, Do I smell another nickname coming on?
Oh.
The cutie? Little cutie?
Please don't.
No,
Please
I don't think so.
Cutie
It's
pie?
nothing sticking. Nothing sticking.
It's less of a nickname and more just a title. You're a cutie.
All right, great. Well,
You're a real cutie.
probably shouldn't have shared that. All right,
No,
moving
it
on.
was great. So,
The cute tricks?
enough. Basta.
cute tricks.
Thank you.
So, The Matrix. So it goes on to be kind of a big influence,
Yeah, and they make 2 sequels, and we'll be covering those the next 2 episodes of the show.
which is very exciting. Now, I love the 2 sequels, but I will admit I hated them when I saw them.
I hated them when I saw them, and I have not seen either one since they came out.
And I was just thinking about this because the sequels have such a bad reputation to this day that even I think now in today's Hollywood culture of like, hey, if it's a thing, give it a sequel, give it a reboot, whatever. Like, let's do another one.
Yeah.
I think if you announce like The Matrix 4, people would be like, ugh.
Yeah.
I don't think there'd be any enthusiasm.
It's fascinating how much they don't want to revive
As
this
much as there's
property.
so much nostalgia for The Matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw an interview with I was going down a YouTube rabbit hole last night, and Quentin Tarantino did a piece for like Sky Movies maybe, a couple years ago where he was picking like the 20 best movies made in the 20 years since he started making films, whatever self-aggrandizing thing he was doing.
Sure.
And he said The Matrix would be my number 2, but the sequels left such a bad taste in my mouth that it's now nebulously somewhere on the 20 without being number 2.
Sorry, Quentin.
He said like only Battle Royale was numerated at number 1 and the rest of them were alphabetical. And he's like Matrix would have been
Battle Royale, come on.
It's Quentin Tarantino. I mean, that's what, of course.
That movie is like the most overrated movie ever made.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's pretty good.
It's fine. Yeah. God. I'm excited to rewatch the Matrix movie. I bought the Blu-ray set, the Ultimate Matrix Collection.
Oh, nice. I own all 3 on iTunes and watch them all the time.
No, the Blu-ray's got like a lot of crazy stuff on it.
That's cool. I'd love to check it out.
Stuff on this Blu-ray.
Well, guys, we
set.
are planning on probably doing an Animatrix bonus.
I think
just
there'll be our
bonus kind of like the
episode.
Buried Secret was for our Shyamalan
an adjacent
series.
work.
Yeah, and we were just talking. We used to both own The Matrix Revisited, which was like a feature-length documentary about the Matrix.
Yeah, because
that you could get on a
first
DVD.
The first Matrix DVD was pretty bare bones. Instead, doing what we call a double dip and releasing a special edition where you have to buy the whole thing over again. They were like, here's another disc of special features.
Yeah,
and you just bought that as a separate thing.
Right, now feels like it's like, but
that was like...
But it's a bit of a cash grab.
But it was the peak of the DVD thing. Like, it sold really well.
No, it was good.
I think The Matrix was the highest selling DVD for a long time.
I used to own this big book called The Art of the Matrix, like a big hardcover book that was so cool. I don't know what happened to it. I don't think I have it anymore.
Well, if you find that book, please send it back to David.
Thanks.
If you borrowed his copy, please send it back.
Come on, jerks.
As always, rate, subscribe, and review.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still waiting on a book report, by the way.
Yeah, well, a couple people have sent me pictures. I have evidence, including a friend of the show, former guest, Rachel Lang. I know checked the book out or got it on her Kindle. Some people have sent me pictures of the book on their shelf. They've checked it out of the library.
I think you crazy.
Rachel crazy. It's a hardy tome, so perhaps it's taking people time to dig through it, but people are definitely reading it. So we'll hopefully have a book report soon for you. Remember to keep it under 100 words, because we here at this show hate being verbose. Any other final thoughts? Next week we'll be back with The Matrix Reloaded.
We're going to talk about The Matrix Reloaded.
Yeah, we're doing all these Matrix episodes sans guest just because we're scheduling stuff.
Well, also because I love these movies and I don't want some guest pissing on them.
David's very protective of the Matrix sequels. But as always...
It's okay, guys. I know they're hard to watch. It's okay. We'll talk about it.
We'll all rewatch them together. It'll be fine. Trust me. It'll be fine, okay?
I trust you.
It's fine.
I trust you. As always...
Thank you for listening.
Yes.
Big ups to Producer Ben.
Love him.
And as always...
That's beauty.
Make sure to order your eggs a la cum, or else... they're not worth eating.
This has been a UCB comedy production. Check out our other shows on the UCB Comedy Podcast Network.